You can have what you want, be what you want.
Austin Metcalf's family, after the verdict was reached that Karmelo Anthony was found guilty. And just listen to the reaction from all the people protesting as they're walking by.
Hey, we glad Austin dead. I'm glad Austin is dead. He's a big ass fool. You guys knew he was a bully. You guys knew he was a bully. You guys knew that the
I want you guys to know that I am 6 foot even. My phone is at my head.
Service Sam here with a Karmelo Anthony Austin Metcalf trial update. Now, earlier in one of my videos, I mentioned that Morris Dwayne Turner had informed me that Jeff Metcalf, the DA, and Judge Roach all knew each other. We're friendly together. And now we have that proof. Look at this photo. This is a photo of Jeff Metcalf, John Roach, the judge, and Greg Willis, who is the DA. Conflict of interest, anyone? I don't know. I am still working to verify this picture. I entered it in ChatGPT. It says it doesn't seem to be fake. If anybody out there can confirm this picture for me, I think that is also very important because we need to keep the truth at the
For a decade, I've been practicing. I've tried dozens of murder cases. For the state to call no witnesses, I think that sends a message that they feel very strongly about their case, that they came back with a murder conviction, that they hit a home run. But for the defense to only call one witness in a case where, Karmelo Anthony, a 17-year-old, 17-year-old, he's he's still in high school. He's a sympathetic figure. To only call one witness in sentencing, I'm shocked. I thought we would be here for potentially days with witnesses from his church, from his community, from his school, from his family, extended family, supporters. I thought we would hear so much more about who Karmelo Anthony is, about
Super evident the world genuinely hates black people. And I say this as a lifelong black person. It has just been such a ridiculous past few months. Mind you, we can watch people like Kyle Rittenhouse travel across state lines and literally take multiple people's lives who are protesting peacefully and be found not only innocent of those crimes, but also become like this Republican darling who gets to tour across the country and make money off of murdering people. But Karmelo Anthony, who was 17 when he got into an altercation where he was defending himself against somebody who was way bigger than him, surrounded by a bunch of different people who was trying to get him to move from a place he did not have to move from, okay? Carrying a life that he was legally allowed to carry. Conflicting stories from every single witness. And this boy gets sentenced to 35 years. This boy and I'm tired of y'all saying he's a man. That is a boy. That is a child. And we need to stop stripping black children of their childhood. Even if he's 19 now, 19 is still a fucking kid. He's a teenager who quite literally was confronted. All of this conflicting evidence. But before that, 3.7 GPA, captain of track team, captain of football team, no prior run-ins with the law, yet and still, star student, yet and still, they found him guilty and sentenced this boy to 35 years.
For black people to testify against Karmelo Anthony. Yeah, what? Are they supposed to say that he's innocent just because he's black? That's fucking stupid. What do you mean? You go to school with someone, they're your peer, you're on the same sports team as them, you see them every day, they get randomly murdered. Oh, I shouldn't testify against this random student from another school that murdered this dude that I know because that guy is the same race as me. That's fucking dumb. What do you mean? And this got 1.2 million views. A bunch of people on Twitter, a bunch of people in general in the public think like this. And
have to take on everything. And this is one of those situations that I am choosing not to take on. I won't get into the weeds, but this is the one thing that this story made me want to share with you guys. It's time as Black people that we begin to play the offense. What do I mean by play the offense? Honestly and truthfully, stay out of the company of white people. That's really all I got. And I'm not trying to imply that all white people are bad, but it is just easier to stay out of the company of white people when you can. Some of y'all wear it as a badge of honor that you send your children to all white schools. That is not a badge of honor that your daughter is the only Black girl in the class. It is just easier to stay out of the company of white people. I know that it's not possible in all instances. I know your kids want to be in sports.
Fucking chimping out. Just niggerdom everywhere.
And listen, at a time like this, I want you all to remember all of these people's faces. All the people that's around you in real life, on the internet, remember them. Because when all of this over, they're going to apologize and say, oh, I really didn't feel that way, and I was not really, and you know, it was the heat of the moment. It was, listen to me. Everybody is showing you who they really are.
A lot of white people are starting to wake up. We first saw this with Charlie Kirk. We saw people openly, proudly supporting his death. Just felt that nothing was wrong with what they said. We are now seeing this again. We are now seeing Black people openly show their disgust to white people who are openly saying, we hate white people. Why can't we go back to segregation? I think people who have stayed silent over these years, during Black Lives Matter and all that, I think us as white people are just going, you know what? I'm not going to make a big fuss about this. I'm just going to step away. And quite frankly, I don't blame a lot of them because we have been told for how many years that white men, white people are the fault of everything wrong. And
sources are currently stating that there has been a unanimous decision to convict Karmelo Anthony of murder, and the highest form of murder, which can carry between 5 to 99 years. So obviously this is a sad situation in general. What we currently know is that they rejected his self-defense plea, saying that the force of the stab did not meet the force of Austin pushing him. And even though Austin outweighed him and that there were other people around, that he had no fear for his life at all. Now, everybody who pretty much testified was essentially on Austin's side, considering the fact that Karmelo was in an area where none of his people were. So everybody painted him as aggressive. Even though Austin did start the altercation with the words and the touch, people painted him as the aggressor, saying that he was aggressive, saying that he was more aggressive and he provoked the entire situation. They're stating that you can hear cries in the courtroom, and they're
raising nearly $500,000. The Anthony family has now officially, this is not allegedly, made a statement as far as where that money is going to go. Now, some of y'all out there were criticizing individuals like myself who called out the simple fact that they were indeed not only using this money for legal reasons, or at least as they first expressed, this money will not be used for legal reasons. That was the family who said this, right? Y'all called us the liars. You called us fake news and propagandists. Okay, well, let's read a couple words from the family themselves, shall we? Purpose of the fund. While legal defense is a critical part of this journey, we want to make it clear that this fund is not solely dedicated to legal expenses. Whoa. No. The funds raised will also support a range of urgent and necessary needs that have emerged as a result of this situation, including, but not limited to, key phrase, the safe relocation of the Anthony family. New home? Not too shabby. Let's see. Due to escalating threats to their safety and well-being. Okay. As well as...
If this dead-eyed teen, Karmelo Anthony, had killed a Black teen, it would just be a local headline, and left-leaning Black America would not be going to bat for him. They wouldn't even care. But because it's a white teen that he killed, they want him to be able to walk free. Even though he was asked to leave the tent multiple times, even though he was threatening Austin, even though he brought a knife to a track meet. Who does that? That's only an unhinged teen would do that. Your kids are not safe around teens like this. Your kids are not safe around anyone who thinks that this young man should walk free.
All right. Welcome everyone to another episode of the Men's Table. I'm the host, Jeff St. James, or Ask a Brother podcast. I got the fellas Dave Anderson, Darwin McPherson, as well as True Table in the building. What's going on, fellas?
Chilling like mud. Chilling like mud.
Yeah, man. So we got a lot of context. We got a lot of interesting perspectives that we can kind of react and respond to. But for everyone that's currently watching from whatever channel or platforms you're watching from, all that we ask, A, thank you for being here. B, please make sure that you like this. And C, that you share it with at least 1, 2, 3, 4, or even 5 people. We're going to definitely try to be fair and balanced and reasonable when it comes to just looking at this from different angles and seeing why is it that, once again, we as a civilization, as a society, seem to be quite divided along political lines, along racial lines, and what to make of why it is that people are so entrenched with having one particular viewpoint and not being able to see the other. So real quick, Dr. James, he's currently still working on some stuff, so hopefully he'll be able to join us throughout the conversation. But to kind of kick things off, man, True, welcome to the Men's Table, brother.
I appreciate it. Got the text. I'm here. Appreciate you having me. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So as we see, Karmelo Anthony was found guilty of first-degree murder as of yesterday and sentenced to 35 years in state prison for the fatal stabbing of Austin Metcalf. The case, which occurred in Frisco, Texas, pretty much obviously ignited a fierce national debate regarding self-defense, youth violence, and even racial dynamic. To begin with, for our audience and people who are just kind of being caught up to speed with this was an incident that involved, at the time, a 17-year-old Austin Metcalf, who was a junior and star football player at the Fresco Memorial High School. Apparently he confronted Karmelo Anthony when they were inside under a tent with other students due to trying to escape the rain. And many of the witnesses that were present and even were brought to the stand basically said something along the lines of that Metcalf and his teammates repeatedly asked Anthony up to 15 times to leave their team's area. Anthony refused to move. According to police affidavits, Anthony opened his bag, reached inside, and warned Metcalf, "Touch me," and, quote, "see what happens." The fatal blow, Metcalf then shoved Anthony to force him out of the tent. Anthony immediately responded by pulling a semi-serrated folding knife from his bag and plunging it into Metcalf's chest, inflicting a deep, unsurvivable wound, which has obviously brought us to this point. So there seems to be a really, really big divide, as I stated earlier. And I would love to hear what you guys initially thought about this case, how it concluded as far as the guilty verdict, and what perspective do you hold about how we got here and why people are looking at it so drastically differently? Let's start with Dave, then True, then Darwin.
All right. So full disclosure, I used to live in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex for a very long time. That's Frisco, Texas. It's such a layered thing, right? In that we always act as a people. And if it don't apply to you, then please don't put your thumbs to thugging at me. Generally speaking, we've had what I call George Jefferson syndrome. We get a couple dollars and we decide we're going to move on up. And moving on up usually means separating from your people, because let's face it, ain't nobody trying to live in a hood anywhere in America if they can help it. Simply because of the lack of resources, the lack of safety, the lack of cohesion, and the so-called community does not exist in the way that it did, not even in the 1980s when I was coming up. So with that, you put your kid in a situation which, by and large, from a cultural standpoint, can be viewed as enemy territory. As a result, they don't really get the hood training that many of us came up with, because of the fact that we've made it very comfortable for a lot of these kids, so they don't understand how the world actually works. And they have this generation, especially Gen Z and Gen Alpha, have a level of entitlement because we've never made anything difficult for them. So they've never had to develop that muscle. We basically been their genie. It's like being a fat kid going to Planet Fitness and telling the personal trainer, "Hey, give me muscles." And all of a sudden the trainer just snaps his fingers and gives you muscles. You don't ever have to lift anything up or put anything down. Having said all of that, I have a permanent fracture in my left orbital bone from a soccer cleat when I got jumped at 11 years old. Still didn't kill anybody. I have been robbed at gunpoint. I have been kidnapped. I've been shot at. All of those things. Still haven't killed anybody. I own not one but 4 weapons that go pum pum, and one is semi-automatic, and I still haven't killed anybody. When we don't put a value on, number one, where we are in the world, two, when we give people the evidence to run with, i.e., making it a good idea to take, pictures that are supposed to be making you look like a gangster, all of that stuff then plays into what could have been a situation that could have been de-escalated by getting the hell up out of there. And all they do is they take that media narrative and they run it into the ground. Would we be having this conversation if, in fact, Austin Metcalf was black? I honestly don't think we would. The other part of that is, and let's take all of this off of the table. Do you remember the TV show Scandal, Shonda Rhimes show, Kerry Washington, so on and so forth? If Tony Goldwyn's character was played by Idris Elba, and Kerry Washington's character was played by, I don't know, Margot Robbie, I guarantee you, every Thursday night, black women would not be watching that show. That show wouldn't make it past the 3rd episode, because don't nobody like it when folks is cheating when a man is cheating with the white woman, but they damn sure don't have an issue with the black woman cheating with the white man, because she's powerful and she's strong and she's independent. This is the same type of thing. I'm not going to sit up here and act like this was necessary or justified. Because if you, quote unquote, had that much of a fear of your life, you could have gotten out a myriad of times, but you didn't. You chose to stand your ground. And we got to start telling our kids, just because there is a law on the books doesn't necessarily mean that law is going to apply. People believe there's 50 states. There's 49 states. The country that happens to be surrounded by this other country is called Texas. And Texas is a different ballgame. You ain't got to have a registered weapon in Texas. You got a weapon, you got a right to. Doesn't matter. There's so much you can do in Texas that I've never experienced in all 19 states I've lived in. We got to start having the conversations that we got from our parents. Like, yo, it's a bunch of white folks. Even if you don't want to, it's better to be alive. It's better to be a live chicken than a dead duck. And a 17-year-old is not going to, people like, well, Malcolm X said this. We're talking about a 17-year-old kid. You want a 17-year-old kid to lead the revolution? Seriously? And your ass can't even get up and do a push-up? Like, so my thing is, do I think that the sentence was a little bit much? Yeah, I do. Do I think he killed that kid? Yeah, by his own admission, he did. Do I think that this needs to be the linchpin of things that black people are worried about right now? No, we've got a myriad of things that need to be addressed before we get America's next top hashtag token Negro that mumbling Ben Crump is going to come. Yep, we going to have this. And every last mega preacher that don't do a damn thing for our community will sit up here and take advantage of for CNN views and clicks and likes and clouts so they can have their next episode of Let's Be Queer. I'm sorry, Let's Be Clear. And I land.
Yeah. Very interesting perspective, especially in terms of, I've noticed this has definitely been separated along a lot of racial lines for a lot of people, but this is also, like Dave, a lot of what you articulated. I've heard a lot of conservative kind of saying a lot of the same points about how avoidable this was. And before we get to the other guys, everybody that's currently watching, if you haven't done so, feel free to at least put a 1 in the chat so we can at least know the names of who it is that's currently watching. We hate seeing numbers on the screen. We at least want to know, put a 1 or put the city that you're putting in, that you're watching from, or just put whether or not you agreed with the guilty verdict. True. And welcome, Dr. James. True. We watched a whole host of different perspectives, right? We saw the liberal side. We saw the conservative reaction and response. We saw the black people, we saw the white people, we saw the black people that was saying this is not about race. We saw white people saying it is about race. Like, where are you at when it came to kind of, going over this case a little bit, and where do you think we as a country probably should be?
Well, when I was doing my research on the case, objectively, it was easy to pull apart. you know, removing race and all of those variables, just hearing the facts and the details. And amongst men, we kind of know that life is choice driven. So therefore, you always have to take into account not the choice you make, but the follow up to that choice. And as this is a young man, I believe that there was just a huge lapse in his training that I couldn't take to what was, you know, displayed or shared with us. What would have made him feel nor think that his action was going to have any type of outcome that was going to be on the softer side. Some could argue he wasn't mature enough to carry out the thought process between what could follow. But the point was that it was conscious, you know, whether he was being bullied, you know, that's arguable. Whether he was being out muscled, that's arguable. What I do know is that he took a weapon. It's just what it is, a weapon. And I didn't even know it was a folded one. At one point, I was trying to, again, be maybe a little bit balanced. Maybe it was a straight blade. Maybe it didn't require another action. But any of us know if you got a blade and then you got to unfold it, that's another action. So it was conscious. From that perspective, it's very hard to find any type of empathy for the young man. What I don't like is the fact that he just so happens to share our hue in this particular country. And we typically do know what comes with some of our actions. It's never going to be met with a fair set of judgment. Hearing some of the discourse from both the Black community as well as the white community, one thing I was formulating, and this could be me being optimistic, it'd be nice to see some of this energy channeled into something that would, you know, matriculate into a program of sorts. We can do everything else, but try to come up with maybe alternatives to punish the young man or even the adults of the community. Why isn't that something that we can, as smart people, compile and petition to the Supreme Court, that jail don't have to be the only, you know, recourse? Because we already know how that's going to go. But it's expected. I don't think that, I mean, we're in 2026. Obviously, you guys know the historical path that this country was founded on. A lot of people still live in that energy. A lot of people still live in this idea that, and you know, to Dave's point, you know, we made a little money, got some of us on TV, you know, businesses and so on and so forth. But the battle is not over. We have so much work to do, so much maturity that needs to continue to be nurtured in the minds of the current older class, as well as the, you know, millennials, and then on down. You know, what are we leaving legacy wise as far as information, an agenda of sorts, to know how to navigate, because it is no longer the hoods. It's not that. We live in a completely different landscape, and we need to have different weapons. We need to know the law. We need to know how to fight. We need to know how to rally. Clearly, they were able to make ways of $500,000 for this young man as his defense. So money doesn't seem to be our issue. But I would definitely say that there needs to be some growth. But I'm not surprised with the outcome. Unfortunately, that young man is receiving the worst of it. And I'll land.
Dr. Will, welcome to the men's table for the first time. We were hoping for you to kind of come through because you had put out a perspective that sounds very different than I think Dave and True so far. And I wanted to hear your vantage point, not only about what you thought about the verdict, but maybe the overall message that's being sent to the country when it comes to cases like this.
Yeah. So I'm not shocked at the verdict. You know, young Black man in America, all white jury. You know, they say it was, you know, a couple of Hispanics and Asians, but Hispanic isn't a race, and then Asian. We see the Rick Chow case. So again, to me, it's an all white jury, and I'm not shocked at the outcome. When I heard of this case and this incident, and then, you know, I saw the jury picking and things like that, I knew that this was about to be, you know, a modern day lynching of a young Black boy. To me, for those who don't know, I'm a martial arts instructor and I teach self-defense. I always tell people, don't put your hands on people. So in this case, we see who put their hands on who first. Don't put your hands on anyone first. Karmelo Anthony, they couldn't paint him as, you know, a negative kid and try to do what they, you know, they bring up all of the irrelevant information. Oh, this kid 3 years ago, he smoked weed, or he had bad grades, or they couldn't do that with him. He had a 3.7 GPA. He played football and track, didn't get in any trouble. There's no prior incidents. He was a good kid. Even if you look at that day, He didn't go to that track meet looking to seek out trouble. The situation unfolded. It started drizzling. It started raining. He went to a dugout first. He was sitting there. Another coach told him to move from the dugout. Then he goes, he gets invited, or, you know, it was said that he was invited underneath this tent. Whether he was or wasn't is irrelevant. I ran track. Sometimes you mingle with other teams. Sometimes you end up in different spaces. So he ends up underneath a tent, and he was around, I think, 5'9", 150 pounds. And then the two boys who come in there are linebackers. They're like 6'1", 200 and something pounds. So it's a significant size advantage. He's outnumbered. Then he tells the kids, like, you know, it's cool. You guys are angry, but just don't touch me. If you touch me, you're going to see what happens. So there's a lot of things that unfolds here. They touch him, and then he stabs one time. And I think it's important for people to note that he stabbed one time. It's not like he took a knife and, you know, stabbed someone 8, 10 times. One time is signaling self-defense. It's signaling like, don't touch me, get off me, I want to escape. It's fight or flight. At the moment, he chose to fight. One time, the threat is gone, he stopped. So I don't understand when people are like, oh, it's good for him, it's murder. I'm like, this is a 17-year-old kid who was in a situation where he felt threatened. He's not thinking like an adult man, an adult male, like we may think and function and say, oh, let me just get up right now and move and not use violence to get out of the situation. And then there were different testimonies. Some people were saying that it was the twins, and then I heard it was 2 other boys, and it was 4 people. And then, you know, so some people are saying, like, why didn't he just leave? I'm like, maybe he didn't feel that that was an option. We don't know. But there's a lot to unpack with this situation when I look at it from an educational perspective, like as being an educational leader. Where were the adults? Why didn't the people in the tent who kept telling him to leave 10 to 15 times, why didn't they go get an adult to get this person to leave if it was such a big deal that he had to leave? That's the things that where my mind goes. But I definitely see it as self-defense. I always tell people, don't put your hands on people. They put their hands on him. He reacted. He stabbed one time. He didn't stab the person up 10, 15 times. The threat was gone. He stopped. Police came. He said, yeah, I did it, but it was self-defense. So, you know, him getting 35 years in this situation is just ridiculous to me, especially when they had the manslaughter option. I probably wouldn't even been that mad at manslaughter, even though I think it was just a clear case of self-defense. But I think people have to think, would this have happened if Karmelo Anthony were a white kid, even if it was white on white, or if you reverse it and it was 2 black kids who were much bigger, came into a tent, you know, they're being hostile, telling this person to move, then they put their hands on them first. Would the result have been the same?
Now, for everyone that's currently watching, if you have a particular comment or question that you want any of us to be able to react or respond to, feel free to hit that super chat button. Or if you just want to show love, feel free to hit that super chat button. Dave, you kind of alluded to it. So I am going to play it, but I'm going to make sure we hear from Darwin first. Dave, you had mentioned that, and also Dr. Will, and reimagining if roles were reversed, how might people who are arguing for one particular viewpoint, whether they think he's absolutely guilty or they think that he was railroaded, if they, you know, if roles were reversed, would they actually feel the same way? And I think that's actually a legitimate question that the more I've been processing and thinking about, and even the clips that we're going to react to, I think it's a legitimate question of, would people that are so passionate about this being a clear-cut case of self-defense, if the roles were reversed and a white male came into a tent and was being confronted by a black team or teammates or whatever, and what ended up resulting and happening was the same exact thing, and a black student was killed, would the people who are saying free Karmelo and they need to file for an appeal and this was a clear-cut case of self-defense, would those same people be outraged and screaming and hollering and saying this is a miscarriage of justice? Dave kind of said it, and I'm going to be honest. If I don't see it. If I'm honest, I think that there's so much tribalism going on that, and we're going to get to these other cases too when it comes to Rittenhouse, Zimmerman. I think there tends to be a theme of why people tend to land on one side or the other when it comes to these cases, and why that question may be actually more important than even the actual individual situations that's happening. But Darwin, from your lens, man, what were you thinking, and do you agree with the verdict? You're on mute.
I mean, shit, I'm sorry about that. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it really don't matter whether I agree or not. He could have got 5 years. He could have got 99. He got 35. It's really nothing to it. I see a lot of people claiming that it's because of the all-white jury. I guess the question I would ask, if it was an all-black jury, what would happen?
Let's stop right there. Hold on. Let's stop right there with what you just said about that piece. One, it wasn't an all-white jury. I know what Dr. Will said about, I forget the exact demographics.
So it wasn't an all-white jury.
No, it was a couple Asians, a couple Hispanics, and the others were white. People can argue if they all had a particular mindset that was geared towards a white perspective or not, but we can't mind read. But no, it wasn't an actual all-white jury. Now, the caveat is many of the witnesses were black. So
So the witness on the prosecution side or defense side?
there was only one on the defense side. And I think we played it at
Only one black witness on the defense side.
to my knowledge. And there was a couple black witnesses on the other side as well. But the problem was even the one witness that was available for the defense also didn't give glowing remarks about how.
Well, from my understanding, it wasn't
he was
consistent
estimated.
with the video.
What you mean?
That's where I heard the defense. The witnesses on the defense side, their testimonies or what they said was not consistent with the video evidence.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I still haven't seen any video, so I can only reference the
That's
actual
just
quotes.
what I researched. It was an inconsistency. And then another thing that hurt the defense, I don't even think Karmelo Anthony took the stand.
No.
So I think I'm not gonna say those are the key things. Those are. I'm not saying that the most significant things in the court, but those are two key things that you need on the defense side to actually win in front of a jury. You need the person to go up there and take the stand to answer some questions. You also need your witness's testimony to be consistent with the video. It's hard to turn it in favor of the defense if none of those things are happening. So they're trying to make it about race. Like, would y'all be satisfied if this was all? Let's just pretend it was an all black jury and he didn't get no time. According to the proof that it wasn't in line with self-defense, the law, would that be fair if he was able to absolve himself from legal accountability when it comes to self-defense? I think black people would still be proud of that, and I think that's a problem. If you can't prove it, if you don't have nothing to argue in the courtroom, if you can't have a strong defense, then how do you expect to win?
Yeah, having
I think in terms of legal, what is it, stand your ground or something?
Stand your ground.
I think you have to meet it. Your life has to be threatened. And I think just confronting somebody or cursing at them or something like that is not enough to return with a stabbing. You get what I'm saying? I think that was the strong argument in terms of self-defense.
Yeah, it was absolutely weak for them to only have one witness. I think even the videos I showed earlier where they basically said even the commentators, the political commentators were saying they were kind of shocked that they could only pull one witness. And again, even that one witness was saying that Karmelo, when they were repeatedly asking him to leave, they said that Karmelo was escalating things. He was the one.
That didn't help him.
Yeah.
So if
right.
he would have had 100 witnesses.
Yeah. So when the quote
been even
was,
worse.
yeah. And when the quote was,
they had that same sentiment.
Find it. Touch me and see what happens while his hand is in the bag. This doesn't look good. And the worst part was, if many of the other black witnesses that were brought up really didn't side with him either. I'm not convinced that the jury would have, even if it was an all black jury, I'm not 100% convinced that I could see that potentially would have gotten to maybe manslaughter. But I don't see him walking away.
Well, I think the people. I think the reason why I don't know who the officer was on scene, but he was able to get a statement from him that said, "I stabbed him. It was self-defense." That right there that's his own testimony without him having to go on the stand. And then you got to also look. I think people who are making this the judge or the prosecution thing was thinking ahead, like, if we allow this to go past, that, hey, look, he was around, he was cussing at me, he was touching me, so I stabbed him. If we pass on that and let kids do that, where do we draw the line whenever a kid says, okay, he was in my face, now we get to stab people and walk out of the courtroom unscathed? I think the fear is creating a trend that can continue on from there and set a new standard that I don't think nobody wanted their kids to have. Even if my kid is getting beat up, I don't even want him to pull out a knife and stab a kid and kill him. You get what I'm saying? I would rather you take your ass whooping and we come home and we can get the parents to settle that issue, or you can fight back. But on a lot of them, I don't think no parent wanted that. So if you allow that to pass out of court, now you're creating something. You're opening up a can of worms. So
yeah. I've actually wondered about that part too. About if it had been reversed, the verdict, and this kid was allowed to walk away scot-free from somebody pushing them. Okay, not stabbing, not punching, not kicking, not stomping. A shove was sufficient for them to get stabbed and then obviously killed. The precedent that sets when it comes to high school fights. I know that a lot of people who are really, really feeling like this is a miscarriage of justice, he should be free. This is totally self-defense. Most of us, and you just said it yourself, a lot of us have gone through fights, school fights, and I'm like, reimagine how many school fights ending up like this if kids got this image that, like, oh, I was fearful of my life, it was self-defense. And it's like, this was a school fight. And the worst part about it in terms of the self-defense argument for him is, Dave, you alluded to it from the beginning. Most of the witnesses were saying upwards of 12 to 15 times he was requested and asked to leave. Now, with that said, did he have to leave? Technically, no. According to Texas law, from what I've looked into, the knife was technically legal, but I'm sure it was illegal to be on school property. So that kind of nixes that. And when you have ample opportunity to leave, and you're being requested to leave, and you're being told to leave, and this was a quote from Austin Metcalf, from multiple witnesses did say, this was something that multiple people did say. He said, "I'm not trying to fight you at a track meet." So one person saying, touch me and see what happens, holding on to a weapon. The other party is saying, we're not trying to fight you, just leave our tent. I think multiple things can probably be true. I think if Austin and all the other students that was confronting Karmelo Anthony left him alone, Austin would still be here. He would.
I think if Karmelo, the parents or security guard on scene with it.
Yeah, if Karmelo left at any of the times he was pushed or told to quote unquote leave, he wouldn't be in the situation he's in now. So I can see how if either party had did something different, both of those students would still be here to this day. But obviously one is here and one isn't, and now one potentially is going to be gone for the next 35 to at least half the time, for sure. We have a few super chats that I don't want to miss, and then we're going to go back to what Dave kind of alluded to as far as some video clips, and then we're going to react and respond.
What do you hold on real quick? When do you? We're talking about a school campus. Isn't there teachers and security guards there?
Usually,
that's supposed to be like, okay, look, you got to leave. I think allowing the kids to police other kids is a fundamental lapse of decorum on a school campus.
But it was raining.
Correct.
So everybody was kind of scrambling. It sounds like all the students.
Rain, bro.
That's why he ran in under the tent. Apparently, you're shaking your head. It wasn't raining, Dr. Will.
No, I'm saying as an educational professional, like I'm a leader. I have my doctorate in educational leadership, and I have I'm a certified school principal. You're supposed to account for all of that stuff. You're supposed to have security. You're supposed to have teachers and extra staffing to monitor the situation. This is what I'm saying, where these are kids handling the situation, and you're supposed to think of the things that can go wrong in these type of situations, and you're supposed to monitor it. We all grew up and we all saw the inappropriate things that took place in schools. Like, oh, Becky over there giving head in the staircase. This is happening in the bathroom. This is happening in the locker room. As an adult, you now knowing that, you're supposed to come up with systems, structures, protocol, plans in order to prevent these things from happening. So they should have had security staff. They should have had extra teachers in places you saw ahead, you saw the forecast, expecting rain and things like that. Even if you weren't expecting rain, you're supposed to have people in place. Oh, let's make sure we have 2 people over here, 3 people over here, someone monitoring that tent, someone over here. Put it in the coaches, send out a blast, send out an email. We have people coming to our campus. Make sure you monitor your team. Make sure you have someone with your team at all time, monitoring the students. We don't want anything to go wrong, so just make sure you have someone monitoring them. You as the adults, we as the adults, we control the situation. We come up with a plan to prevent things like this from happening. Had an adult been in that tent, this whole situation could have been avoided. Could have spoke to them, could have calmed the situation down, could have said, hey, young man, I know it's drizzling, but can you please leave our tent? Help them leave. If adult would have put his hands, see, that's what I'm saying. If an adult would have moved Karmelo Anthony and put his hands on him and say, hey, man, you got to leave this tent, adult who's doing their job, and then he reacted this way, you wouldn't hear an argument from me. It's a different situation where we got 2 much bigger adult teenagers who are bigger than him, and then it's an aggressive match, and then they put their hands on him first. You could say he was talking and he was being aggressive, and he was like, you better not put your hands on me. That's a warning in self-defense. I can tell you, hey, just don't touch me. And then you can't control how I react. Again, so the people saying like, yo, a stab is so aggressive, don't touch people. I always tell people, don't touch anyone. It's not smart to touch anyone. When you touch someone, you can't control their reaction. You don't know if people are crazy. And then also when someone is much bigger. I'm a martial artist. I'm a 4th degree black belt, but I'm 5'11", 195 pounds. If Mark Henry puts his hands on me, or the Big Show, or someone who's extremely large, or I see as a significant threat, I'm not going to think to use my hands to defend myself. I'm going to think to use whatever I can to get this person away. I'm not going to think, oh, I'm going to fight this person using my hands. Certain people, especially people, if you've ever been jumped, being realistic, you're not fighting 2 people at one time, especially if they're significantly bigger. So the smart thing to do would be, okay, how do I get out of the situation? Again, fight or flight. You're either going to run or you're going to fight. He chose, hey, I'm going to use this weapon that I have to fight. Again, it was legal. And then people don't also factor in, which his lawyer could have used, because I ran track. Sometimes you could use a little blade. It depends on the type of track shoes he had. You can use the track shoes. You can use the blade he had to remove spikes from a track shoe, or to tighten a spike in a track shoe. So he could have also used that defense, that he had it for that reason. Again, I don't know, and I'm not sure how much it matters, because again, he didn't seek to stab someone for no reason. If he went in that tent like, hey, and just start stabbing people, that's a different discussion. If he stabbed someone before they put their hands on him, that's a different discussion. If he stabbed them multiple times, that's also a different discussion. So again, the adults failed them by not putting the proper systems and structures in place and having people around to, monitor these teenagers. Because again, at the end of the day, they're kids, even if they're in high school. But I think people have to factor in how much, what exactly was his reaction and how far he did not go. One stab wound, yes, it can kill someone, but it's still one. So you got to think of the intent. Was he really intending to kill this kid with one stab wound? People are saying like, yeah, he stabbed him one time in the heart. What do you think is going to happen? So you think he's that technical, like John Wick, where he stabbed him and he was thinking like, yeah, I'm gonna get you right here in the heart. When I was 15 years old, one of my associates, he got stabbed in his head and an inch away from his heart. He's here today. He's 37 years old. It's not like someone is that technical of that age to like, yep, I'm gonna get you right where I need to get you for you to die. He stabbed him one time, stopped, and then admitted, like, yeah, I did it. It was self-defense. And then if you watch that body cam footage of him talking to the cop, he looks sort of like he looks like he was in a scuffle a bit. You know what I'm saying? So it looks like someone was roughing him up or something. Like, I think that has to be considered too.
Mr. Fantastic, thank you, brother, for pulling up. For the $5, a boy was killed in broad daylight in 4K in New York a few months ago, and ninjas didn't care after 5 days. No one would want their son to be murdered over a push. Appreciate you, Mr. Fantastic, for the 5. We're definitely going to continue covering that. Ghetto Gourmet, thank you for the $5 as well. Karmelo saved at least one drowning white kid previously as a younger child. There is a newspaper article on it. Unfortunately, I think that that clearly didn't matter. That doesn't matter. I think what people are going to pay attention to is the here and now, and the fact that a kid is dead, and whether or not his reaction was proportionate to what actually was actually occurring. Obviously, the jury disagreed with many of the people who feel differently. Mutatsa, thank you for the $5. You did have that case. Remember Bernard Getz in NYC. Thank you for that. Wrench Turner, $20. I lived in Collin County. Anybody with street sense knows you don't let a case like this go to trial. Plead to a lesser charge and rest on 20 out in 7 or 10. Coming from someone who has beat the state of Texas in court twice. Listen, we can reevaluate some of the approaches to his legal team as well, because I gotta say, as a person who's not a legal person myself, there were some questionable things that they kind of did that I think definitely set this back. And it appeared that the manslaughter plea deal was on the table at one point, and that was apparently rejected. And then last but not least, Bro Wisdom, thank you for the $5. I'm an advocate of accountability, but I also understand when people operate out of the limbic system, the amygdala, poor choices are going to be made, especially around the teenage age, like Dr. Will kind of alluded to. We're going to react to this brief clip, and then Dave, and then True. I want y'all guys to come back in.
So this video is for everyone who's upset about the outcome of the Karmelo Anthony murder, where he was just found guilty and sentenced to 35 years for the stabbing death of Austin Metcalf. Now, if you've been on social media at all over the past 24 hours, you've probably seen at least one or more ridiculous comments like this from people who are upset about the outcome of the trial. And the only question that I have for them is, would you feel this same way if the roles were reversed? Let's say that Austin Metcalf was a black kid and Karmelo Anthony was a white kid in this situation who stabbed him during an altercation. Would you be claiming self-defense? Keeping in mind that for most self-defense cases, you have to respond with a proportional and reasonable reaction to the threat that you're facing. And I already know the answer to this question. If you're somebody who's upset about the outcome of this trial, no, you would not be arguing self-defense on behalf of Karmelo Anthony if he was white and Austin Metcalf was black. And the reason you wouldn't argue self-defense has less to do with race and more to do with the fact that this is a completely unreasonable reaction to the altercation that was happening. The average person would not pick up a knife and stab someone in the chest simply because they are being pushed at a public event and being told to move. That's what the jury is going to look at every single time. Would the average person commit this same set of actions in the exact same scenario? An all-black jury would have found this man guilty. If he were white, he would have also been found guilty.
This is the perfect picture because 2 6'1" football playing black boys, twin black boys at that, if they would have approached a young white kid who's 5'9" in stature, sitting down minding his business, escaping from getting wet because it was raining, and those black boys acted very aggressively towards him, gripped him up, trying to force him to leave the tent, and that young white kid would have reacted the way Karmelo Anthony would have reacted and jigged one of them, and that young one of them young black teens would have died, he would definitely be a hero in the eyes of white people. He would definitely be a hero. He would definitely be looked at as us defending himself. Y'all want to know the funny thing is too? Black men typically, or black boys typically, when white people was invading our space, we don't get overzealous to feel like we have to tell them to remove themselves. We just let them be. If that was an all black school and a white kid would have came up under a black opponent's tent, he would have been actually welcomed. Black people have a notorious history of just welcoming people because we are loving people, by the way. We are very loving and caring people. And we would have understood, oh, it's raining out. It's raining. You know, of course, everybody, because we think like that. Oh, you know what? Yeah, he can sit there. Like, it's raining. But we know how they think. They don't think like that. They think, never mind, ain't even gonna go there. But yeah, if this was the case, all the white people of the world would be screaming, self-defense! He's innocent! He was just minding his business. They wouldn't even question whether he had a knife on him. They would probably be saying it's good that he had a knife on him because the big black boys was gonna harm him. They came there with the intentions to harm him. That's the reason why they gripped him up. Oh yeah, but they won't give Karmelo Anthony that same type of grace. We live in two different Americas. This America was made for them and by them, and anybody who does what they do is looked at as monsters at the end of the
All right. So very, very interesting perspectives from a totally different angle, and Dave kind of alluded to it. If the roles are reversed, would the people who are quote unquote standing on their respective positions currently, would they actually truly on an intellectual and emotional level feel the exact same way? Dave, then True, and then the other fellows.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's very simple. We have a problem in this country when it comes to sensationalism over logic and prioritization. That is why for the past 62 years, our communities look like absolute hot trash truck juice warmed over and backed up with a nice side of hamster vomit. There is absolutely very few places that we would want to live that are densely populated in that way. And this is coming from somebody who went to the documented worst high school in America. Our high school was so bad. If you've ever seen the movie Lean on Me, they brought in the guy that Morgan Freeman played, Joe Clark. And he came, sat down, and said, I can't do nothing for y'all but tell y'all keep on keeping on. We were the first school in the country to have metal detectors on every single door. I remember Jamaicans walking in with machetes and all kinds of crazy mess. Like every day was in fear of your life. When my aunt asked me what my highest accomplishment was, even though I had, straight A's and I got into the school I wanted to get into, I told her straight up and down, my favorite, the best thing I did was survive. So I'm not coming from this stuff just doesn't happen all day. But the truth of the matter is, when these things happen and it's not a little white boy, nobody bats an eye. It's like, oh, damn, that's a shame. Moving on, just a couple of airbrush t-shirts and everybody goes home. Now everybody is just so up in arms. And it's just like, as long as the media tells you who to be up in arms about, then you up in arms about it and then you'll forget about it. When the last time you talked about Tamir Rice? When the last time you talked about Sandra Bland? Why is it we're not talking about the fact that we don't have a level of accountability and responsibility when it comes to checking this nonsense? The other part of that is, and I'm not a black belt, but I've been doing martial arts for 6 years. And the first thing I was told is the biggest weapon you have is your 2 feet. If you can get out, get the hell out. Because, after a while, like I put together a combination, and I felt myself and I stopped and I went like this. And my sensei said, Dave, are you doing? And I said, what do you mean? He was like, why are you posing? This ain't no movie. If you lay somebody out, you get out of there. Now, when it comes to Karmelo Anthony and whether or not he should have gone, not gone, it was one stab, one time. First of all, any stab where somebody's not getting up ever is one stab too much. Secondly, for me, I don't understand how we're acting like if you put your hand in a bag and say, if you touch me, see what happens. where I come from, and according to a whole lot of people's interpretation of the law, that's a threat. Then, because the situation is a weapon that's folded, you got to unfold that bad boy. So, okay, you're thinking about it, even if it is an escalation. I'm not going to call it premeditation, but it's more forethought than, let's say, like the third act of West Side Story when old boy runs into the knife. Like, at some point, we got to start calling balls and strikes here and just say, you know what? He made a real stupid ass mistake. Stupid. Period, point blank. And then going back to my high school situation, our rival high school was where Mumia Obsidian Ali went to school. It's Germantown. We knew better as King students to not go anywhere near where a whole bunch of Germantown students were congregating, because that could mean trouble. Doesn't mean that you couldn't whoop some ass. It just means that if you don't want that headache, why would you bother? And here's a newsflash for folks who have never lived in Texas. There's an old saying: if you don't like the weather, wait a minute. We used to monsoon rains. We used to hailstorms, to the point where you can go get a car for 50% off because of a hail sale. We know that happened. So, he was just trying to seek refuge from the rain. He's a 17-year-old boy. It's rain. He wasn't going to melt. Like, there's no justification for that little boy to be there. And I don't really give a rat's ass whether he was white, black, or one-eye, one-horn, flying purple people eater. The reason that they got him is the whole, he basically told him to F around and find out. And yeah, I agree. Don't start no ish, won't be no ish. However, that works in theory. In practice and in real time, you are only reduced to the level of your training. So I got to ask, who's training this boy? Because notice the stepdaddy was in the back every time they have a press conference, and the mama's just blubbering all over the place. Like, when do we start looking at the situation and saying, yeah, this is beyond messed up? Do I think it was harsh? Yeah, but I also think it was Texas. And we can say, well, equality and da 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 da. But I'm the son, brother, and nephew of cops. And anytime a cop pulls me over, I'm still shitting bricks. Because we know what can happen. Did I tell my wife I love her? Did I hug my kids? Did I reassure them? Am I up on my insurance? Like, all of those things fly through my mind. And I am a relative of blue people. So I raised my children for the world in which actually exists, not the world in which we wish existed. And where was the common sense for somebody, maybe his daddy, his stepdaddy, some man with balls, not somebody that has a lisp in his voice and talks like this and says, oh, this is a travesty and these things just have to not happen. And where was the testosterone to teach this young man an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure? Because when we're talking about, well, the dead kid shouldn't have done this, that, and the third. Well, you know what? I would love to be able to lecture the dead kid on what he should and shouldn't have done. Unfortunately, he's dead. But the kid who was alive, who had 15 chances to get up out of there, call for help, yell for help, whatever the case may be. And if you can't get out there, then listen, as a person who practices martial arts myself, we got these. There's no need to break out the nunchucks, the bow staff, the throwing stars, or a side blade. Like, what happened to hands? I done got my ass whipped many a day, and I done handed out plenty of ass whippings. And as a person who used to manage Mark Henry, I can tell you, you're going to need a lot more than a knife to get through to his skin. That man is a mutant, no cap. But when did we have to resort to the pussification of our boys where they feel like they got to grab a weapon before they just rock somebody's jaw? Because I was taught, and maybe it's because I'm, I had a father who was an actual man. You find the biggest one who talks the most shit, and you try to beat the brakes off of them. The rest of them will automatically scatter because they don't expect you to go feral. I have bitten a boy's ear off in the 3rd grade. I beat another kid down with a rock. That's how I got down. Not proud of it, but everybody lived. And you know what? They reattached that boy's ear. I saw him at my high school reunion a couple of years ago. He's just fine. We laugh about it now.
Okay, Mike Tyson.
We're
gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that,
it
bro.
sets a precedent. And until such time as we're having the actual conversation, if you had a daddy that punched you square in your chest and teach you how to hold your hands, you wouldn't need to. You better not, and if you better touch me, I'm gonna get nah. Where
Man,
I come from, you use your hands first.
I'm gonna
Period.
say,
Point blank.
I'm gonna say this. There's a particular comment. Tariq Cook writes, "Look at how many dudes locked up or in jail for not walking away because they gang. How many dudes in the club done lost their life for stepping on somebody's shoes when all they had to do is walk?" I think what you're alluding to, I'm going to say there is an issue, particularly in the black community. I've been at the protests. I've seen the riots in person. I've, protested, boycotted. I've done all that stuff, man. What I've also noticed is there is the same group that's saying the system is rigged, the country is racist, white supremacy is everywhere,
Mm-hmm.
but you're reacting and responding as if those things aren't real and don't exist.
Thank you.
If it's as bad as you claim it to be, half of the reason for why a lot of these incidents are happening is because non-black people, and especially white people who don't have badges, believe, meaning law enforcement badges, believe that they have the authority to dictate where and what black people can do. They believe it. That's why they follow them. That's why they chase them out of stores. That's why they tell them to get out. Because in their worldview, they truly do believe they have the authority for that to exist. So a lot of these situations are non-law enforcement situations initially, where a non-black person believes that they have the authority to follow, to harass, to stalk, to attack. And I understand, as a foundational black American, I understand the issue of wanting to buck against people who you truly believe in and even know they don't have that type of authority. This is the problem. If you stay there too long in that space, 9 times out of 10, it almost never works out in your favor. The sooner you remove yourself, typically the better. Now, Dave, the one pushback I'll give with what you said is,
sure,
we just had a whole nother situation last week in terms of Chow, right? Rick Chow and Cyrus, when it came to a young black boy who was confronted in a store, puts the items back, walks out the store, and then looks back and sees them coming out the store and then takes off running and ends up dead. Trayvon Martin ran. The dispatcher told George Zimmerman, do not follow him, do not confront him. Dead. Philando Castile pulled over, told the police officer, I have a firearm, I have a license to carry, was instructed to reach for it. Dead. So although in theory, like you said, there is a more ideal way where both of these boys could still be alive. I'm also willing to acknowledge, when I think about these other situations, there is another alternative reality that I think people don't want to acknowledge. There is no perfect black defendant, and there is no perfect black plaintiff.
Yep.
What I'm saying is, in all of these scenarios, we saw a black male or black boy do something different and still ended up dead. So I think that's also true. And so I'm going to be the first one to say, this is why a lot of people saying we're going to have to reevaluate certain spaces we're in. When people first say something, the pride, the ego, the lack of willingness to walk away, that's costing us our freedom in our lives. But the other half of the equation is people that don't have the actual authority over black people. When we are in their space or they are in ours, they talk to us in such a way where they truly do believe they're basically an extension of law enforcement. And the beauty of it is, once this stuff goes to trial, Kyle Rittenhouse, as it says, can travel across state lines, shoot multiple people to protect businesses that he don't own in a place that he doesn't belong. George Zimmerman not following directions. and they're treated as heroes.
Certainly.
So my initial issue is I can actually see the true human element of why people are saying it don't almost matter what we do. But like some people said in the initial comments and as far as the video clip earlier, if this was two white people or two black people having an
It wouldn't be
altercation,
news.
it wouldn't even be
Yeah,
news either way.
we wouldn't know about it.
Yeah, true. Come on in. Come on, come on in this.
Hey, shout out to everybody, man. Appreciate you bringing me up, Jeff. Yeah, man. Listen, again, first and foremost, like I said, man, the racial aspect was put into this because social media and black people cast the first stone because there were black people celebrating the fact that they killed that saltine or whatever. Black people this literally happened. And then you started the whole GoFundMe wars or the gifts and go wars and so on and so forth, and saying that we're gonna make sure he got a good defense and all these different things. And people made up all these things. Just like, again, man, we have to be careful when we saying these things. It wasn't an all-white jury, so why are we saying that? It hurts the credibility of black people as a whole, whether you're going to be biased or you're just simply ignorant and so on and so forth. Same thing with Kyle Rittenhouse. Kyle Rittenhouse did not cross state lines with a gun. The gun was already there. People don't know what they're saying, and they just say rhetoric, and they say things that they think support their thing. And he wasn't protecting businesses. He was protecting himself. He was attacked all 3 times, and all 3 times were captured on camera. All 3 times were captured were attempts on physical harm to him being done, captured on camera. So again, the narratives that we make up to justify things, and yet again, last year, Jeff, somebody said that Kyle Rittenhouse killed black people or whatever. Not one black person was harmed.
It wasn't a black person at all.
Not one black person was harmed, right?
But just to clarify, Mr. Fantastic, was he a minor at the time?
Yes, he was a minor, but almost all.
I want to make sure I ask these questions to make sure I understand correctly. He did.
Yeah, he was a minor, but in almost all states, you can have a long gun. You can have a rifle at 16 or above. So he was able to have a rifle. It was a rifle, so he wasn't illegal to have a rifle.
His residence.
Yeah. There's nothing. It wasn't illegal. So either way it goes, right? This is the thing. Just moving up to this one. I think you guys touched on it. The most important, this case was far bigger from a precedent standpoint. And I have a son that's 14 years old. My son that got into 2 fights this year. Thank God my son is still here, because according to y'all think my son should have died if he would have touched somebody back, or simply, kids fight a lot. I think we all grown men. Anybody up here never had a fight as a kid?
Right.
So according to that logic, we should all be dead, because now what you're doing is you're justifying in children to make the executive decision, the ultimate decision of taking another life because I said don't touch me. Saying don't touch me, and I can't believe we as grown men are promoting this, bro. This is dangerous. This is fucking dangerous, bro. You scared to get whooped? You scared to throw some hands? I've been jumped more than once. I'm still here. Vast majority of fights do not end in death. Knife, though, it increases it greatly. I learned most people don't die from stabbings either. But again, ain't nobody the real life one punch man. I ain't seen nobody punch somebody to death with one. Especially no kid. I ain't heard of it. Maybe it's happened. But what I'm saying is this, man. We're setting an extremely, extremely dangerous precedent out of bias, out of racial things, intentions, and so on and so forth. And like you said, if you reverse these roles, if Austin Metcalf had killed Karmelo Anthony, shout out to Dave for saying this. I don't give a damn if it's 1 stab, a half a stab, or quarter stab. If you stab him and you die, that's murder. You kill someone. All right? And I don't give a damn what your GPA was and so on and so forth. They shout out to Darwin. They tell you this. One old shit destroys all your attaboys. That's the ultimate old shit, taking a life. What are we doing?
Yeah.
We're the men. We're as black men, we have to set the standard, especially if you're a father, bro. I got a son.
Thank you.
And I'm worried now because y'all are saying, oh, well, hey, keep your hands to yourself. Of course, keep your hands to yourself, drive the speed limit, don't leave a corner of orange juice and put it back in the refrigerator, but we all do it. Right?
Yeah.
So again, man, and we're only saying this because it's the black-white dynamic, bro, and it's sickening and it's sad.
Correct.
It's sickening and it's sad, man. This is embarrassing, bro. This is embarrassing. It's over with now. You not go undo it. Everything's been done, and ultimately, he made a poor decision. We need to focus on telling black boys about better decision-making, discipline, walking away. Jeff, as you said, for us, it's this hyper-masculinity, nigga-lander syndrome to where ain't nobody gonna punk me. Ain't nobody gonna try me, right? And how many people end up in the graveyard or in a jail cell over that? We have to get away from that culture, man. If you can, of course, there's gonna be some times where you gotta knuckle up and fight. But knuckle up and fight. If another person got a knife, hey, 2 knives, hey, let's motherfucking beat it. Let's Michael Jackson it up. We knife fighting. But if one person got hands or a push, bro, you don't pull out a weapon that could clearly in this end result. And now you have to pay the ultimate consequence for doing the ultimate offense. It should just be that plain cut and dry, bro. But because of the black-white dynamic, people can't have it. They can't just let it go.
And this is my thing, and I want True to come in, then Dr. Will, and then Darwin. My issue with all the people that thinks he was justified, part of it is like you're a lot of youth that think this way, that this is you believing this was the best course of action, or that he was justified and this was the only. There were so many other justifiable approaches. And he picked the one that got him 35 years. And I think that a lot of our boys and even some of our girls are starting to as well. They're having a one-track mind that's hearing black people say what he did was fine, or that there was nothing else he could have done. And I'm like, I hate to break it to y'all, man. Out of a lot of these situations, there was nothing Philando Castile could have done different. You know, there was nothing certain cases. There was plenty of things this youth could have done different. Plenty. And if he had did almost anything different than what he chose, both of these boys would be alive. Now, again, I agree with you, Dr. Will, that when you put your hands on somebody, you don't know what and that's the risk that comes with putting your hands on people, right? You put your hands on people, you don't know what the proportion or disproportionate response could be. And that's literally why Austin isn't here. But because of what, what's his name? What Karmelo did, this is why he's locked up. We have this idea of like, I can go to the nth degree because I'm like, again, if you all believe systemic racism really exists, if you believe the jury system and the legal system is rigged against black people, we have to tell our boys about all the steps and ways they can prevent themselves from putting their fate in the hands of the system you're claiming is so racist. If it's so bad and so racist and they're telling you multiple times to leave and you decide you're going to stay and wait for them to try to put their hands on you, if he was as fearful of it as he claims, and the system's as racist as I'm being told to believe, why didn't his upbringing and the people around him teach and train him to have the level of discipline and emotional regulation to leave?
But Jeff, he could have just called. All of these kids got cell phones. They either got an iPhone or a Samsung. If you really in that fear, why not just call mama and pops? Like, hey, mama.
I don't know. Now, again, when you're in the heat of it, Dr. Will's right. You're a teenager. You're not thinking through all the different steps or options. But we have to drill this in their heads. We have to drill this in their heads. Number one, and True, come on in. We have to drill this in their heads. It is better for you to make it home than prove your manhood. It's better for you to make it home alive than do what he just did. Most black boys that are ending up in these situations, they think the exact same way. Go ahead, True.
The challenge I'm having, and there's a few, so I'll try to mine it out. Challenge I'm having is that we live in a very advanced society. Darwin, yourself have even admitted to the fact that we have technology. And one thing I've observed these kids do is they know how to order food, play video games, listen to music, pick up dances, build web pages. So arguably their maturity may still be under development. No argument there. But to take away their ability to process current day, I couldn't live in that space. Not with what they're able to do. Not with what we watched them do. Coordinate things. These kids y'all been watching it. They've been pushing their parents to get these helicopters taking them to prom, and they can do all these things. And you telling me that in the heat of the moment, you just absent yourself and carry out an action of force. I can't live in that space. It removes the accountability. It removes the fact that and clearly this young man, nothing against him personally, he's not a stupid young man. 3.7 GPA, a captain means he has leadership components, leadership abilities. Otherwise, he wouldn't have arrived at his position in his hierarchy, right? So what I observe a lot of times when I'm listening to our community is that somehow, some way, we still are carrying this chip on our shoulders. The society's not fair, never has been, probably actually never will be. And in my immediate mind, you know, I've never resided in the state of Texas, nor nowhere in the South. I know it is a different climate down there from what people have explained to me. But my logical mind would say in current day, we got another 48, 49 different states that you could reside in. Why not migrate? Why not go somewhere that you have more balance? Maybe, just maybe, you have a fair chance or better chance of creating your livelihood and pursuing life in a way that you're not dealing with these immediate racial tensions of, you know, boy, where you going and what you're doing and where you at. Because the one benefit I could tell you I've had growing up in California, half the time when I'm hearing this stuff, I'm like, where and when does this occur? I live in a white community every single day. White people are exceptionally decent. I've not actually had these issues. So sometimes I think even amongst ourselves, we want to reside in areas that we know have demons and negative spirits that still exist to this day, policies that still exist to this day. But then where's the accountability amongst us to elevate in a way that, like you guys said, knowing how to live in these areas or even migrate out of these areas and exemplify ourselves differently. I'm not exactly sure how we're supposed to fight, you know, the whole situation behind there was racial tension at some point. Sure. But it seems like this was taught somehow, some way to our younger demographic. And this young man is not even 21 years old, was not even 18 years old at the time. So I guess it gets a little bit choppy for me. And how, like Mr. Fantastic said, we as Black men, I can't endorse him taking action in a forceful way to defend himself or defend himself. And I'll land.
So a couple of super chats, and then Dr. Wu, I want you to respond to a lot of our feedback. Chris Creative, thank you for the $4.99. Why do we fight so hard for criminals? There was a Spelman student deleted in her room by a stray bullet years ago, and crickets from the community. Yeah, Brianna from Black Card on Instagram. I just saw this right before we started when she said if he had stabbed another Black man, we would be lucky if it even made the local news. And this talking point I've been hearing for years. Candace kind of made it really big at one point, and it's fairly true and accurate. But what I don't want to do is get off of the fact of, yes, there is a segment of the population that isn't as interested in or isn't as emotionally affected when somebody that's Black ends up doing stuff like this. True. But that doesn't mean that because we have almost like and by we I mean certain people within the community have a devolved view of Black life when it devaluing of Black life when it comes to another Black life taking it. That doesn't mean they shouldn't care about Black life when somebody else takes it. That's nonsensical. You don't say you can't care about this because you don't care about it over here. People are going to care about what they want to. We would love for it to be something that, you know, people could in generally have. But I appreciate the $4.99. Messy conservative. So you can say someone is pussy and be scared. Yeah, apparently. What's going on, Mika? Philip Sadiq, thank you for the $10, good sir. Ak Mumbai, thank you for the $2. Thank you, Dave, for bringing logic to this and no emotion. Third Coast Gems, thank you for the $2. Life ain't no any video game. Carmelo got his facts. Marcus Evans, thank you, brother, for the $5. Always faithfully true. What's going on, my brothers, for the panel tonight? Thank you for this very important topic. And then last but not least, Leno Hondo, really like Dave's take. Thank you for the show, Ask a Brother podcast. Thank you, Lenny, for that as well. And and then Ghetto Gourmet again. Thank you for the $5. The Department of Donald Trump's
Donald Trump.
administration bombed an elementary school, and no one has or will be charged with a war crime. I'm just saying. Thank you, sir, for the $5. Dr. Will, come on in here, and then Darwin, you can follow after.
So as far as the jury, there were 4 Asians, including the reserves, and then we had some Hispanics, and we know Hispanic isn't a race. Those are white Hispanics. So that's just to get that over the whole jury thing. 4 Asians, including the reserves. Then I'm not happy Austin is dead. All right. At the end of the day, he was a 17-year-old kid. Karmelo Anthony is a 17-year-old kid. The guy in the video, I noticed, and I pay attention to the language people use. The guy in the video, the black guy, I think he's an attorney. I don't know what he is, but he said, man. Karmelo Anthony was not a man. He was a 17-year-old kid, right? At that age, you're a kid. And when we talk about them being kids, and the Karmelo Anthony didn't make the best decision. I don't want people to think that I think he made the best decision in the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, could he have removed himself from the situation? I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I saw one of the testimonies saying that it appeared they had surrounded him in a U shape. So I'm not in a situation not knowing how he felt, if he felt trapped or whatever he felt. I don't fully know. What I teach people, the best self-defense is avoidance. People know about my background and they're like, oh, you're 4th degree black belt, you must kick a lot of ass. And I'm like, actually, no, I've never had a fight. I haven't put my hands on someone since I was 19 because I avoid those situations. I don't put myself in those environments. And then if I'm around someone who's sort of hostile, I practice verbal judo and avoidance. I de-escalate, but I had to grow and mature into that. That's a skill in itself to be aware and not put yourself in those situations and then be able to speak and de-escalate. You realize, all right, this person is drunk and belligerent. I'm going to ignore them. I'm going to create space and move along. I was raised by my mother and father. They taught me a lot of things. They taught me about instinct and how to deal with things. My father taught me all the manly things. I went to work with him. He taught me how to fix cars, tie, all of the manly things. But I don't want to confuse it with myself. When I was 17 years old, I was a captain on the football team. I ran track. I did certain things. But in comparison to who I am now, I was a complete idiot. I couldn't think the way that I think now. So this is a 17-year-old kid in that situation. I think a lot of people are thinking with their adult mind and thinking with all of this logic that we use as adults and not putting ourselves in the situation. And again, as Karmelo, as a 17-year-old kid, who I don't know how he thinks and how he processes information. Just because he's a smart kid and he's book smart doesn't mean that he has all of the street smarts and knows how to handle a confrontation and things like that.
Dr. Will, I don't want you to lose your train of thought, but you said something that Dave literally spoke on when you're saying we as adults are looking at this as adults. We also have childhoods. And we also got into fights and altercations.
Right.
And many of us were attacked. And I think what's happening is overwhelmingly, most of the students that we knew that also got in those fights also didn't draw out weapons. Overwhelmingly. So
and most importantly, we knew better than that at 17 years old. This isn't a middle schooler. He's 17. We knew better.
Yeah, but again, when you start infantilizing these children, this is exactly why this generation is running around here rampant, feeling like, oh Lord, they just can't figure it out. They can figure out how to find a way to make sure that their girl gets a plan B when ain't nobody here 18 at any local drugstore. They can figure out how to coordinate a situation where they leave their iPad where they're supposed to be and make sure that their phone is linked to where their iPad is supposed to be so they can go out to a party they have absolutely no business in. They know how to cross state lines to go and do a myriad of things just because Beyonce's having a concert, or as Trump will say, dance party with Beyonce. They can do all of these things, but when it comes to making life-changing decisions, magically, they just lose the ability to think. It's as ridiculous as when women say, oh, well, I'm strong, I'm independent, I got 15 degrees, more than a thermometer, bop, 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 bop. But then when you confront them with the logic killer of, Why you let Pookie nut up in you? Well, see, I just didn't understand. And, as a woman, I just lived and I learned and this, that, and third. Or if they get up in a brother's face and start talking crazy, and then all of a sudden he hit him with one of them Doug Emhoff backhands, then all of a sudden, but I'm a girl. Like, it can't be both, because at having a 3.9 GPA and also understanding what my daddy would say, which is trouble south, go north, trouble east, go west, it really does not make much sense to me that we act like these kids don't know no better. And then finally, it's amazing how I got money on this. How many people on this dais know who the hell Eric Billups is? What about DeAntoine McKeever? What about Stephon Jacobs? You know why you don't know them? Because those little black kids got by other little black kids.
And nobody cares.
And that's just Chicago. I ain't run down Baltimore, Atlanta, nor Philly. Like, this one case, because this one kid was so promising, but he had no common sense. And you know what kills me? When people like to talk about street smarts, they leave out the part that the people who usually give us street smarts ain't the streets. It's our uncles, it's our daddies, it's our grandfathers, because they survived the streets. My big brother did some things before he became a cop so that I wouldn't have to. And he showed me, hey, don't go between this block and that block, because the Muslim Brotherhood will take you out. Where, again, were the actual men that have balls and testosterone to teach this little boy what you shouldn't do? There's a set of rules that are laws, there are school policies, and then there are certain rules as to what it means to be a black man in America, whether we like it or not, whether we are fluent or not, whether we understand Kung Fu, karate, Krav Maga, or Kempo. At the end of the day, somebody failed that boy. And I'm tired of everybody acting like he was just some invalid who got third place in the Special Olympics, like he just didn't know what to do all of a sudden. In the same breath, they're talking about he's damn near Kreskin and he's got Einstein-level discernment. It can't be both.
Now, real quick, this comment, and Dr. Will, you can definitely respond, and Darwin, try to hop back in. Hit flicks. It was completely avoidable if Austin had left him alone. I think the problem that people are having with these types of discussions, multiple things could be true, people. I know this is so hard to believe that if Austin had minded his business, he'd still be here. If Austin left it alone after the first or second time and he realized the kid wasn't leaving, instead of trying to put his hands on Karmelo, he'd still be here. Multiple things can be true, people. Like, I think what's happening for a lot of people that's struggling whenever they're hearing one perspective or another is, y'all know it's tangibly possible that both these boys would be here if they did one or two things differently.
100%.
Like, let's slow down for a second. Let's set the race aside for 1 second. And I'm gonna say, and Austin obviously is white. If white people minded their business more and stayed in their lane more often, or left it to law enforcement if it warranted that, many of them wouldn't result in having these altercations that could result in something like this. That's the whole topic about the Karen thing. People being Karens, being in other people's business that they got no business being in. That's a thing. When people think, oh, you don't live in this building, you need to show me an ID that shows that you belong, like that can result in somebody getting their ass whooped or worse. So yes, it's true that when people think they have more authority than they do, they can end up getting hurt or dead. But it's also true that even when it's happening to you, I know this is hard. This is hard for some black grown-ass men to deal with, including a teenager. What's most important? Your pride, proving a point, showing that you're gangster, not wanting to do a fair one. I promise you. Now, let me take back the promise part. If multiple black witnesses are saying that you're escalating things, that you're going back and forth with Austin, they're saying double digit you could have left. It's possible they were surrounding you while they were saying it all 14, 15 times. Maybe that was the case after the 10th time they told you to leave. I'm not sure that they were surrounding him the first and second time saying you need to leave, bro. Just a thought. Now, again, I didn't see the video, so I can't confirm or deny the logistics of that, but I'm just saying we can't continue infantilizing this youth, because these boys, when they do adult things, they get treated like adults with the court. All right. So, and again, this applies to our boys and our girls. We have to literally teach our youth. And I'm not even convinced that they don't know and haven't been taught, like True said. 3.9, you elite, you playing athletics, you a captain, you this, you that, you probably do know. And you're choosing to override what you know to live out of your ego, and it's costing lives and freedom. So Dr. Will, and then Darwin.
Yeah. So to get back to my point, just because he didn't make the perfect he didn't have the perfect response in the situation doesn't prove intent to murder. And that's my whole point here.
Mm-hmm.
And just like someone said, the Metcalf twins, they could have entered with more humanity. Like, oh, it's raining, it's drizzling out. Yo, what's the problem with him sitting here? Like, yo, just sit here. You know, our stuff is, I'm gonna be smart. I'm gonna watch my stuff. This is a stranger. I don't know. I want to make sure nothing comes up missing, my track shoes or whatever. No one will hold the person, you know, accountable for that or make them feel a certain way for that. But they could have welcomed him with more humanity. Like, yo, brother, what school you go to? Oh, cool. You run track too. Da-da-da. You know, and just had that type of discussion, and then it could have been avoided. Who's raising the Metcalf twins? Who's their father? Because from what I understand, they had a distant relationship with their father, and it wasn't as, you know, close as that. So who's raising them to where they got to butt into someone's business and then say, hey, you don't belong under our tent, and then make it such a big situation? Oh, he won't move. I'm going to move him myself. Again, if they had been raised to say, you know what, you're a child or you're a teenager, it's not your job to move people out of this tent. Go get an adult to move him out of this tent. And then, like I said, if an adult attempted to move him and pushed him and he reacted the same way, my mouth would be shut. I would be like, that kid went too far. That was an adult moving him. That was the adult's job. It wasn't the Metcalf twins' job to put their hands on him physically to move him. Again, you have to look at it both ways. We could look at it and say, the Metcalf twins could have did something differently. He could have did something differently. But at the same time, he's a black kid. You don't know. I don't know his mentality. And again, we have to think about that. Oh, here comes the oppressor again. These two white males not minding their business, thinking they're going to move me. And it's not their business, not their situation. Hey, we wouldn't be having a situation if he would have got up. If he would have got up and ran out of the tent, maybe we wouldn't be having this discussion. Cool, that would have been a great thing too. But I don't think, my whole thing is, I don't think we can just say it's murder because he didn't get up and get out of the tent, knowing he had a weapon on him, and then he chose to use it. So he definitely wanted to kill someone. That's my whole thing. If they would have even gave him a manslaughter, I'm cool on a manslaughter charge. But to just give him a jury with 4 Asians, then all white, everybody else is white. You got white Hispanics, and then you give them. They go in there. In 3 hours, they come back with guilty, and then sentence them to 35 years. And then to stay, I'll end with this. To stay true to my teachings are: don't put your hands on people. So if we teach our black boys, if we teach humanity, don't put your hands on people. It's one thing when you're talking, but don't put your hands on people. We wouldn't be having these situations. Don't put your hands on people first. Someone has to put their hands on someone first. Don't put your hands on people. If you reverse the situation and Karmelo Anthony was a white boy and 2 black boys came in there and were talking to them, and they my argument would be the same. Forget the racial argument. My argument is all on, don't put your hands on people, especially when we're dealing with minors who can't think and process things as well as adults. So we could say he's 17 and he could process things a certain way. They can't do it like we can.
Yeah. So just real quick before Darwin hop in there. So why we keep assuming that a jury of your peers has to include people of your same race? Because TJ, you got to mute up, bro. You got bad feedback.
My bad, brother. Hold on.
Yeah, cool. So because you guys know we talk about the Rick Chow case, but you know there were 5 black jurors on the Rick Chow case. There were 5 black jurors on the Rick Chow case that found him not guilty for shooting a black boy in the back. So you see how that logic doesn't follow, that where you say, oh, well, he didn't have black people on the thing. And I clearly feel like the Rick Chow thing was cut and dry, Rick Chow being guilty of murder, but 5 black people felt otherwise. Okay, so you see how it's poor logic, and again, it's a lack of accountability, and we find any and every excuse. This is what I'm saying, man. Again, we just looking real bad on this one, people, and I hope we just get a standard of righteousness and just rightness. The boy murdered him. For one, he murdered him because that what the conviction was. He was convicted of it, so he's a murderer, and he murdered. Secondly, if you go back to the statutes of the state, what he did matches the statutes of and the qualifications of murder. So you guys trying to turn around and make this whatever, anything other what it is from a legal standpoint is, but within itself, man, we got to stop this thing first. It doesn't matter if it wasn't an all-white jury, be it Asians, Hispanic, or whatever. Now every Hispanic is white Hispanic. You see how we reaching? I'm Mr. Fantastic and I ain't reaching like that, bro. We got to stop this, fam. We got to stop, bro.
Go ahead, Darwin.
The reason having a black jury matters is because this is real quick. My bad, Darwin. Because we have a history in America before when juries were segregated, all white jurors lynching black people or letting white people skate. Emmett Till, all white jury, they let him go. So, like, we have a history of that in America. So when you see it again in 2026, predominantly an all white jury, and then you get a case like this with all this racial tension, you're like, damn, they couldn't find one black juror. Even if I don't know the thought process, they could have had the biggest 5 coons as jurors, but at least they were able to get 5 black jurors. We don't have none right now. There was no black people on the jury.
But Doctor, respectfully,
No, wait, Mr. Fantastic. No.
Hold on, everybody. I actually want Darwin waiting. Go ahead, Darwin. Go ahead, bro.
So I think if you look at this case and everything that transpired, and let's just say we was blindfolded and we didn't know who the juror is, it's still hard to see how the defense could have won. Even if you just take the jury out of it. But just because now you can see the color of the jury, now you're saying that, oh, the jury would have made it. If you just get your mind to think that all the jury was silver, that's the color of their skin was fucking silver. It's still hard to look at this case and what transpired to see if anything would have happened different. We're talking about a young 17-year-old who, when I looked into it, he seemed unfathomed whenever they came on scene. Like, it was almost like, yeah, I did it. Yeah, it was self-defense. It wasn't no remorse. You got to ask yourself, a defense attorney in a significant case like this, not having his client come on to the stand and answer questions. Usually when that happens, the attorney that's defending the client doesn't really feel competent in their client to be able to answer those questions. They know that, hey, look, we don't see it in movies. If I put him on a stand-up, prosecution team is going to destroy us.
Well, listen, O.J. Simpson, to be fair, hold on. O.J. Simpson, there's been high-profile cases where people didn't take the stand, and it was in their best interest not to. So whether he did or didn't take the stand...
Well, that means they had a defense. The rest of the case...
they had other defenses.
You didn't have the rest of the defense at all. You could at least
I agree with
had the kid go up there and cry and say, I didn't mean to kill him. I think that the attorney saw in that kid, that 17-year-old boy, that he wasn't going to say that. Man, hell no, I stood my ground, But aside from the case, I think pointing the finger at the parents is wrong. I don't think parenting had a damn thing to do with it. The kid was 17. Those kids know that they can go get a supervisor or a security guard or a teacher. They know that. I was in school when I was 17. I knew that if I wanted that motherfucker to stop fucking shooting spitballs at me, all I had to do was tell the teacher. They had this thing called snitching back when I was growing up. You snitch, you're a telltale or something like that. I don't know how y'all was raised, but we didn't just go and tell the teachers everything. And our parents told us, who kids don't know that you shouldn't stab somebody. Kids know that they shouldn't stab somebody and shoot somebody. Will still go out and fucking stab and shoot somebody. It's not a matter of parenting. You can tell your kids not to do some shit. I got 2 kids right now. They're not even 17. They 2 and 4. I tell them not to do shit every fucking day and they do it anyway.
So it's not. I think we're putting too much accountability on the parents. You can raise these.
I rebuke it in the name of Jesus. Hallelujah.
My bad. I used the wrong sound effect.
Clearly.
My bad. But listen, yeah, I got a voice changer. But you could tell these kids, y'all are parents. I think most of the people on here are parents. You could tell your kids not to do this, bro. They know not to do it. But whether they do it or not, that's a whole nother conversation.
That's half of it, bro. Yeah.
So this thing about, you got to train your kids. When have we had to train our kids not to stab somebody?
No, I'm going to say it's not just about teaching them what not to do. There is the other element about all the other things that you could be like being taught how to de-escalate is actually a real skill that does need to be taught, because I'm a therapist teaching adults that now. So when I say like, I think we presuppose, not to do something, but what's the way to kind of de-escalate it? What's the healthy way to work yourself out of this? What's the way to kind of get them on your side and realize you're not seen as a threat? That's an art form. That's a skill.
I agree with you on that. Yeah. Parents is not teaching that.
Yes.
Parents is teaching what somebody said earlier. You find something and knock their ass the fuck out. Parents are actually teaching you to be more aggressive whenever you're being picked on or ready to get hit on. Nobody is telling their kids to stab somebody, though. I don't think it's going to that far. I think it's going to the level of fair exchange and physical offense or whatever. It's not, hey, yeah, you shoot them or stab them. I don't see parents telling them to do that, and I don't see kids needing their parents to tell them not to do it.
Yeah,
I think it's just going. I think teachers even telling somebody says something. You got to teach your kids not to put their hands up. I think even teachers in the school tell you not to put your hands on other kids as early as kindergarten. So I don't think it's a matter. I don't think it was a lack of nurturing and teaching the kids right from wrong. It's just we got to be able to accept that that these kids have a mind of their own and they should be held accountable.
Let me read a couple of super chats and then we're gonna welcome our guy TJ. Joe Budden, voice coach, thank you for the $5. It's clear USA was built, stands for racism. But what's our pivot, fellas? Do we deal or escape? Obviously, first of all, I just don't believe there's ever going to be any collective anything. I think what's going to happen is what's always been happening, is that there's going to be segments that, feel one way or feel the other. There's going to be people that continue to live their lives. Most people aren't going to be talking about this a month from now. And those that watch these scenarios are going to keep it in mind that if they play their cards right and trying to see, you can't avoid everything, but there's a lot of things that are preventable. There's a lot of things that you can literally stay alive by just putting your ego aside. So I think that, everybody's going to have to figure it out for themselves. And if you want to work with like-minded people that agree with that, sure thing. Thank you, brother, for the $4.99. TJ.
Let me respond to that real quick.
Yo, what's up?
This thing about, I'm not surprised we're in an anti-black country. Why do if we don't even take care of our own race, within the race, if we unalive our own kids and our own people, why do we expect other races to treat us better or different? I don't get, why is there an expectation that they're supposed to, if we already confirmed they hate us, just using their own logic, you confirm that these people don't like you, but you still expect them to treat you a different way?
And you still go before their juries. You still stand before their judges. This is where I'm arguing that what Mr. Fantastic is saying is it at the end of the day. Obviously, you're right, Darwin. Youth are going to have to make they're going to have a mind of their own to a degree, but we have to stop acting like, well, you said this, you did this, you pushed, you this or that. If your life truly isn't at risk, or that's at least debatable, and you're putting yourself in a position in front of prosecutors, jury, and a judge off of something that's debatable, if everything is as racist as you claim, you basically just put your life in the hands of the group that you say is so predicated
that
on
you
racism.
said it's not going to give you a fair trial.
No,
It's
on a silver platter.
It's the same argument that black women use with the maternity death rate. They said the healthcare, we're unprotected as a race. The healthcare system is doesn't care about us. but they go and get pregnant and go into the same hospitals to have their kids when they can have a doula, a midwife, and all this other stuff. They still go into the hospitals, knowing that they're unprotected in the healthcare system. It just don't make sense.
Ghetto Gourmet, thank you for the $20. We exist in a society that allows 17-year-olds that can be trained to be soldier killers, just as myself. I'm just saying, support the troops, shake my head. Profound sick society, rest well, family, and stay safe and dangerous. Bro Wisdom, thank you again for the $5. Dysfunctional super ego makes us judgmental, void of compassion and humility. We are all one poor choice away from destroying our lives. I'll say this in response to that, Bro Wisdom. Whether we judge it or not, one kid's dead and one kid's going to prison. All right. So what we're kind of putting out there is, and I'm going to say it as a therapist who's actually had to meet with youth that had legal issues, that was court ordered to treatment, that had oppositional defiant disorder and a whole host of PTSD and a whole host of things. For the people who's actually doing the work, there is going to be judgment. There is going to be giving them certain steps and recognizing that if they ignore those things when they've been offered them, they are going to receive judgment, and the ultimate judgment is going to be from the judge. All right. So somebody has to make it known. Like, if I'm going to put the time in, Dr. Will puts the time in, many of the men on this panel put the time in. If we're telling them what the mark is, if we're trying to give them solutions, and you decide to negate and ignore all of that, you're going to face the judgment. So the judgment's going to come, whether it's from your peers, from the jury, or from the judge. It's going to happen. So we got it. So, and number two, we can acknowledge that he could have done something different and wish that he had, so that he would still be on the other side of the fence. That's actually recognizing his humanity, believe it or not, and the humanity of the boys who's also still in the mentality he is. So again, just because you say something about men, about women, about the Black community or whatever, doesn't mean that you lack compassion. You don't see things from multiple angles. You literally can say if white people ain't going to change and the government ain't going nowhere, what are we going to do different? That's what this whole conversation honestly is about. Casual Economist, thank you for the $20. I made a parlay bet that Courtney, Claney, Case, and Allison and the 3 divestors suppressors combined serve less time than Karmelo. Use my cold complexion for protection on Prize Picks. And again, if all of these stories, all of these incidents is confirming in your worldview that systemic racism really is what it is, how do you move different in light of that? Are you going to move to another country? Are you going to stay in your house? How are you going to move and navigate with things that are outside of your control? Because what we're basically saying is, if we keep whining about a system, but we're not instructing our boys or putting them in positions to succeed, we're going to be talking about this again and again and again. But thank you, Casual Economist, for the $20. Ahmad Sylvester, thank you for the $10. Do y'all not care about equal protection under the law? That's how this is coming across. It seems the message is live on your knees or so you die on your feet. We live in reality. I know this is hard. I know this is hard to believe for a lot of people. There's been cops that said really wild, crazy stuff to me, and I'm so grateful. During protests, during major altercations, especially in 2020, I am so grateful for the Black and white people that were standing next to me that held me back from doing something I was going to regret. I am grateful that they didn't allow me to act out of my ego in that moment so that I can go home that day because an officer disrespected me or said something that I didn't like. It doesn't mean what he did was fine. If I had got a badge number, I would have reported him, et cetera, et cetera. What we're saying is, y'all are going to have to choose, am I going to fight this in court legally because I've done nothing wrong? Or have I done something that can be seen as wrong that could warrant me potentially spending life in prison? Y'all keep treating these situations as Black people can do or say. If somebody calls you the N-word, let's start there. Somebody calls you the N-word, you going to chimp out. You going to do something to warrant to get you arrested? You going to do something to where you can't pay no bills or get no job? Or are you going to figure out a way, if it's even possible, for you to either walk away or be able to hold them liable if they're in a position where them using that word in a certain space and context comes with consequences. What I'm basically saying is emotionalism is the sickness in this community. This is why y'all think every time somebody say what we could have done different, y'all see that as offensive. If every black person goes strictly off their emotions, that's why our community looks the way that it does. But I still appreciate the $9.99. Thank you. Tristan Smith, thank you for the $20. Telling someone if you put your hands on me and see what happens and then stick a knife in someone's chest when hands get put on you is a slam dunk premeditated murder charge. I don't know that it's slam dunk. I agree with Dr. Will. The problem is they always are going to factor in if you had the means or ability to leave. And when they had so many witnesses saying how many times he was told to leave, what he was saying for why he didn't want to leave and that he wasn't going to leave, even standing your ground. They're always, a lot of times standing your ground is often looking through the lens of, did you have an ability to remove yourself?
Who was telling them to leave? I didn't get that part. Who specifically?
No, the only one that told him to leave was, like I said, so the first brother asked. The only person that told him to leave, by all accounts, was Austin. Austin told him to leave. He was not jumped. There's no evidence to support that he was surrounded. And the only person that claimed that he was surrounded, their testimony was proven to be not true because they weren't. The video evidence showed they had their back turned to the altercation. So this whole thing about them being jumped, bro, is shit that was.
Wait a minute. What was the? So Austin, the person who unalive, was the one who told him to leave.
Yes.
Why did they tell him to leave? Like, what did he do to warrant having to leave?
It wasn't warranted. It was nothing other than him being under the tent, and he was. So so Austin was wrong. Nobody's saying that Austin is wrong for approaching him, touching him, none of those things.
Yeah.
But he didn't want him under the tent because he wasn't a member of their track team.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he didn't go to school. He wasn't a member of the track team. They didn't know him. Doesn't mean he was justified. He was wrong for putting his hands on him, wrong for confronting him, wrong for doing a whole host of things. And again, if he had did any of those things differently, he'd be alive right now.
And he had another weapon. He had his backpack, who he could have utilized as a defense mechanism if it really was that deep. I just can't rationalize a knife.
Feet too.
Yeah.
Brandon Nesbitt, thank you for the $2, Mr. Fantastic. And then last but not least, Madam Carly, $1.99. People defend property with lethal force. What gives?
Well, you own your property. I mean, like, I'm sorry. Do we need to start doing great common sense civics out here?
If you're
seriously,
if in your car somebody's trying to jack your car, you have a right to defend. If you're in your own home and somebody tries to do
yeah, this was a public setting, man. Y'all, everybody doing the port. Y'all would never make it as a paralegal. You'd never pass the bar.
Now, real quick, man.
Make it as a pair of shoes. What are we talking about?
Now, my brother TJ is in the building, man. What's going on, bro? Welcome to the men's table.
Man, blessings everybody, man. Can y'all hear me, man? I'm downtown Hawaii right now, so I got a lot going on in the background, but can y'all hear me clearly?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Wanted to hear your perspective because I also came across some of your content earlier today as well about your thoughts, and again, you've been able to hear all of our perspectives. What's been your view about the verdict and how both sides are viewing it? And also, bro, like, do you think a lot of people, especially black and white, would be saying the same exact arguments if the roles were reversed?
Well, first of all, if the roles were reversed, those same people that are outside protesting for Karmelo, you know what I'm saying, they'll be protesting for the opposite. They'll be claiming that it was a murder trial. You know what I'm saying? And I think that everybody in this panel, we grew up around people like that. Let's keep it brutally honest, right? And excuse me, I had a couple of drinks. I'm watching the Spurs and the Knicks, but let's be honest. In this panel, we grew up around folks that hate white people, man. I grew up in Houston, Texas. I grew up in Lawton, Oklahoma. We got cousins, we got aunties, we got family that, damn, it's nothing we could tell these folks because they're going to stick to their guns on how they feel about white folks. So it doesn't matter what happens in reality, they're going to stick to their guns. And we've learned that by seeing these protesters outside, even though the evidences came out that, correct me if I'm wrong, 4 of the 6 witness testimonies, they were black or brown descent.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Then on top of that, you got the jurists that said, hey, listen, man, I can't lock a brother up. He's a baby. So they disqualified themselves
Black
for
jurors or
being, you
potential
know what I'm
jurors.
saying?
Yeah. There you go.
So the fact that people selectively, and I got people real close to me, like I love these people, I would die for these people, I'll take a bullet for these people, but they think like the protesters on the outside, they are going to selectively choose to ignore the facts if it doesn't go along with what they believe and with their narrative. So when you personally know people in real life that move like these people, you understand it better, and that's when you realize it ain't shit that I could tell these motherfuckers. Excuse my language. I'm so sorry. But it's like you tell yourself it's nothing I could tell these people because stupidity is a choice. I tell people all the time, ignorance can be forgiven, but stupidity is a choice. So when somebody chooses to be stupid, when somebody chooses to miss the logic, when somebody chooses to believe the misinformation, even though the actual information is available for everybody, to include us in this chat right now, you got to accept them from choosing to be stupid. So it's like you're choosing to be a dumbass. So it's like, bro, it's not, or sis, it's nothing I could tell you because you're choosing to believe that narrative, even though the shit that came out of the testimony does not go with that. Willie D, for example, I love Willie D. I grew up listening to Willie D and the Ghetto Boys. Willie D is out here sending misinformation. Misinformation. You know what I'm saying? And you gotta just sit back and watch and say, damn, Willie D, I looked up to you growing up. I love the Ghetto Boys. You're one of my favorite rap groups of all time. But you literally in this motherfucking line, bro.
What he say?
That boy was not Jump.
He said it was Jump.
Carmelo was not
Yes.
Jump. You know what I'm saying? And I'm sorry if I'm going long. I'm sorry if y'all hear the cars in the
Oh, you
background. I'm
good.
in the city right now.
You good? Keep going.
But I'm saying, like, that's just the truth. And the thing about it is that if you just claim that everything that come from the court is lies, it's nothing I could tell you. Same thing with statistics. Oh man, them statistics, man. Come on, TJ. Them white folk talking point. Them white folk talking. I ain't got nothing to tell you if you believe that way. Because all of us in this chat, we could say right now that if you go to any gas station in certain neighborhoods, your black ass in trouble. You know what I'm saying? By other people that look just like you. So the fact that people choose, like I say all the time, ignorance can be forgiven, but stupidity is a choice. These people choose to believe this way. Everybody in this chat, it's nothing that we could do to convince people to think otherwise because it's their choice. So at this point, you are arguing with feelings. You're not arguing with logic. You're arguing with feelings. I feel this red shirt was fresh today. That's why I wore it. Ain't none of y'all in this chat gonna tell me to change. I like this red shirt. That's why I wore it. So when you go with these folks that talk about, man, Karmelo innocent, man, them white folks, it's nothing that nobody in this chat can tell those people because they chose to believe that shit. So what can we do? And that's my stance on that, brother.
I appreciate that perspective. And real quick, and this is we're gonna wrap this up in the next 10 minutes. Everything I just said about this case, throw it out the window when it comes to Rick Chow and Cyrus. Throw it out the window. Throw it out the window.
Let me mute myself, man, because I know it's loud over here. Let me mute.
Throw it out the window.
So what happened specifically in that case? That
All right,
need to
so
throw it out the window?
I'll state it real quick. Actually, let's play this real quick. One sec. For the audience and people who couldn't hear what she said, she informed Cyrus to put his bag down, which often happens, especially in the hood. You enter into certain stores and establishments, they want you to leave your bag at the counter or by the front door, typically. Which he did. And at this point, he picks up, I believe, 4 water bottles. But then he also, I think, notices that he's being watched and then apparently puts all 4 back. I think 3 or 4.
You'll see here he grabs the 4 water bottles and puts all 4 back. And she's standing there doing what?
So y'all saying he was about to steal?
They're now confronting him and asking him if he has one in his pocket. He's standing there prior to leaving. It looked like he was looking down to kind of display and show that he didn't have a water bottle, apparently, but I couldn't tell with the video that this one video that we are able to see. As you see, he leaves peacefully, walks out by himself peacefully. And I'm going to say this. Let's say he did have a water bottle. With what you saw next and what was the outcome, was his life and chasing him and doing all of this worth it for a goddamn water bottle?
Leaving peacefully. Look, they're so scared of him.
Now, mind you, this is Trayvon Martin all over again. In the sense of when you see somebody chasing you, you're going to run. You either going to run, fight, or flight, like Dr. Will said.
I wanted to piece together all of the surveillance footage that was shown because, number one, it shows all of the angles. Number two, I'm tired of the stupid comments of people, oh, but he stole the water bottles. Oh, but he threatened them. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. In fact, his own surveillance footage shows that he blatantly lied to police, that he never stole anything, that from the moment he walked in, he was respectful. He put the backpack down. He didn't argue with anyone. And that she, on the other hand, his wife, harassed him the entire time. When he was walking towards the water bottles, she's standing over the chips like this, monitoring him like he's a criminal. They then accuse him, even though in the surveillance footage, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 water bottles being put back. She still followed him, still questioning him. The son now jumps in. And instead of him arguing with them, he said, I don't have anything here. He shakes his hoodie and he walks out the door. They followed him, all three, not just him and his son. And what breaks my heart, on top of the fact that he is not here to even speak on his behalf, the fact that he was shot while he was trying to get up from the floor after tripping, is the fact that no child should ever have to walk into a store and be taunted in this manner, followed throughout the store at 14 years of age. I just ask myself, what does that do to a person? How does that jack them up in their mind, in their soul, to think that you can't even walk into a store innocently? All of them deserve to be in jail. In the next video, I'll go into day 3.
Let me say something before you play the other one.
For you to make a decision.
Before you play that one. So, my eyes is not the best, but I didn't see him grab for and put back for. I don't know how she was able to clearly tell and count how many put back from that angle. Secondly, did the police report confirm that he lied about the kid having a bottle?
Yes, that he did. Yes, he didn't. They didn't find.
It's on record that the store owner or whatever lied about him having a bottle.
Yeah, he didn't have anything on him.
Okay, the next thing is she said she don't understand why they're closely surveying a 14-year-old kid in this store.
Now that
does the store have a history of young kids coming there that they're stealing?
More often than not, if they have a bag policy that's saying leave it at the door, it's obviously an area. It's a high crime area, undoubtedly. So, or shoplifting area. So, again,
but
they don't.
We don't know if they.
Yeah.
So they do they have? Is it warranted that we probably need to follow kids when they come in here because of a pattern of death?
Listen, all that's true and possible. All that they did up until that point, it's debatable to the degree up to to everybody. I think how they could have done it or approached it differently. The problem was once they left the store. That's really what the real issue is.
Well, I know what the real issue. I'm just saying that should be in if just think about it. If you're defending yourself as a store, you would have it behoove you to have that in the report. That hey, look, here are all the accounters we've had. This is why we're justified to follow them closely. Because we repeatedly had kids coming in here to steal in January, February, March, whatever the hell dates you got. You got a police record of complaints or calls in reporting that somebody's stealing so that you could just So it can be justified that you're following kids closely just to get rid of the
Darwin,
nuance.
Darwin,
Go
I'm gonna
ahead.
help you out real quick. The moment a patron leaves your premises, the moment a patron or customer leaves your store, legally, you're not supposed to have the right to be able to hawk them down. Whether they took something or not. People have gotten charged for people that broke into their house and shot them while they were leaving their house, while on their property. There's a lengthy legal precedent for this. Lengthy legal precedent that when somebody is leaving and up until him walking out the store, he was not a threat to you. So everything
I
I just
understand that part.
everything I just said before, I'm just keeping it honest with you. He did what we said you're supposed to do, and he still ended up dead.
Listen,
Carmelo Anthony, Carmelo Anthony,
you're looking at it
Carmelo
from a
Anthony
conclusive.
Listen, 1 second. Carmelo Anthony might still be alive if he did what we're saying. We know with certainty Cyrus still ended up being dead as a result of it.
Yeah, but I listen. I get that. I'm not arguing against that.
Yeah,
you're talking about the whole conclusion of the whole thing. I understand that part. I was just talking about the justified reason to follow somebody close in the store, because I think whenever that woman had the videos, she complained about people in the comments saying that, and I'm like, if somebody's constantly stealing out of my store, I'm probably going to be watching them closely, especially if there's an avatar pattern. Like there's young kids coming in here.
You get it. But
so
again,
I think we can knock that out of it. You know what I mean?
But again, whether she's justified in profiling or not, this is the other piece about profiling. When you profile someone and you make it known you're doing that, the person's going to get offended. They're going to get defensive, and they are potentially going to get somewhat abrasive, as you saw in the video where the kid's like, I ain't even stealing nothing. I don't have a bottle. So all of that is cool. Again, I want to see y'all perspectives on this, but real quick, let me play this to make sure I don't mess this up.
Come in front of you and said, but witnesses on the stand, guns aren't that bad. 14-year-old kids have guns all the time. And they have witnesses literally with their hands on the Bible looking at you, talking about, guns are prevalent, it's not that big of a deal. That was the testimony. I didn't make that up. That was the testimony that they submitted. Do I think they believe any part of that? Not a line of that. It's their property. They're emotional about it. And that's why he ran after it. The question isn't, do you think it's right? The question is it legal? And then you go to the second part of it, is it legal? If it was illegal, don't you remember Andy Chow sat up there on the stand? And Mr. Scott got right in his face, and he was yelling at him, and he was going angry with him, and he was saying everything to him. But the one thing he didn't say to him is, and you have been charged with following this young man out of the store. And you are criminally liable for following this young man out of the store. Because he's not. He's not liable. He's not criminally liable. He has not been charged. And he did not do anything wrong. But when you Monday morning quarterback and come back and look at the situation and say, well, why? You know what? They could have done this. They could have done this. They could have done this. Because that's what the state's case is. Think about it. How many times did you hear throughout the course of this trial the great state of South Carolina say the following sentence? They could have done this. 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 They don't have evidence to offer, but they have fear, passion, emotion, and they want to get that out of you. They want that fear, passion, and emotion, and for you to ignore the law. We do not get to take the law the way that we want it to be. We take the law the way that it is. Let me say that again. We don't get to take the way that we want it to be. The solicitor can't say, well, I want it to be illegal for a shopkeeper to go out of the store. Shopkeepers should not be able to follow somebody. That's what I want. Andy, that's what I want. That's not the law.
I'm going to say this real quick, and then I want y'all to hop in. The shopkeeper and his family members did take the law in their hands. They did. And that's the issue. Now, to say with the color, you have the bold print of the law, and then the color of the law, the spirit of the law. Fine. People can be all over the spectrum. I'm making it known myself that they tried to take the law in their hands in a way that resulted in somebody being dead. And unlike the last case, where I can understand a lot more of why it ended up going the way that it did, I absolutely think if they stayed in the store, this kid would be alive.
Of course, because nobody would shoot. They would have to go outside to shoot him.
Exactly.
That's obvious.
And when he's
But-
not, and just to clarify, when he's not a threat to you, when he hasn't made threats, and you're now setting a precedent. Remember, we're all big on precedents. You're setting a precedent. What ends up happening, and I keep wanting people to acknowledge
What? Like, this is crazy.
Oh, yeah. I did it like it
This
had
is
been that
also
long,
what
but I
can
came up here the other day and stood across the street.
Look right there on the mirror behind her. I mean, on the glass behind her. It's an Asian man in front of an Asian establishment, and you got the black youth or whatever bending down. Hurry up and buy. This was right after. So we can't act like these cases don't have other ramifications outside of just the initial situation. There's people, I didn't even get the clip with the Asian man that said, go ahead and boycott our stuff. We don't need y'all money anyway. Like, like all I'm saying is it's possible that a person, it's possible to see all of these cases and what's the overarching macro message that's being sent when stuff like this type of stuff is happening. I want True, I want Dr. Will, then Dave to kind of hop on that. Go ahead, True.
Why would you make me go last when you see I clearly want to say something on this
First
shit?
of all, you're number 3. There's other people.
Go ahead. Y'all go ahead.
I definitely, this one again is just blatantly wrong. I heard what Darwin was trying to attempt to do. And I guess in some space that may be fair. However, there are so many things that you can do as a business owner to prevent theft. If I'm not mistaken, most common practices, and they list it, if they don't want to go ahead and extend services to you, they can deny you service. They can not feel comfortable servicing you. And they can say, hey, young man, I'm so sorry, but unfortunately, you can't shop here today. And that could have been a case of deterrent. If it's that bad and you're in a high crime area, you can hire private security. You are a business, as we can see. No, what it is that we've kind of allowed certain people to populate within our United States and then carry energy against us or people that look like us negatively, take the money, but then, extend, threats, force, and in this case, lethal force. And quite frankly, I don't know when we, again, collectively are going to wake up and realize, we got a lot of stopping power by doing something as simple as not patronizing. Is it that serious to have to get whatever you need from, said corner? Is it convenience of sort that high to where we can't make other, accommodations? So no, this gentleman, he's guilty. There was no grounds to have to take any kind of lethal force. And I don't know if you guys did the research or heard all the details behind it. He didn't only follow the guy, they chased him. They ran about 100+ yards off the premises, 130 yards. So this was intentional. And then he was able to shoot him. I don't know from what distance, but no, this was intentional.
In the back.
With a 45. I got a 45. 45s do their thing. So this was intentional. There's no way I would see him not being held at murder, in the first, second, or whatever degree, because this was very much intentional. And I'll end.
I got a quick question when y'all get time.
Go ahead, Dr. Will.
Darwin can go, or TJ can ask his question.
Yeah, hold on. Let's get TJ question in, and then I'll go.
Okay.
Is it confirmed that the kid pointed the gun at Chow's child?
What?
No. And because there's no video evidence of it, and the only witnesses that are alive are obviously going to say what version. Remember, he also lied about what transpired in the store. So they went off the testimony of somebody who was already a proven liar to justify this kid's death. And I think they said that he was armed with a 9mm semi-automatic pistol, which investigators discovered on the ground near his body. However, sheriff investigators publicly emphasized that even if shoplifting had occurred, it did not justify a shooting. So yeah. So and Darwin, what were you about to say?
Okay, so I think we can all agree that it didn't justify a shooting. I don't want to actually have that conversation. I think that's cut and dry. I just want to figure out, how did they win this case? First of all, the question that he asks about the kid, was that even admissible as evidence or to argue between the attorneys? Do we even know that?
Yeah, based on what I'm reading right now.
So that was admissible. So they did argue against that.
Against what?
Whether or not he pointed the gun, whether or not the kid pointed the gun at the other kid.
I'm still reading it.
Per TJ's question.
Yeah, so now this is the problem for the defense's argument. It says the defense claimed that during the chase, Carmack turned and pointed his pistol at Andy Chow. Under South Carolina law, the defense maintained that Rick Chow fired his weapon strictly in defense of his son.
Okay, so
I would say that
I'll pull that apart. Oh, sorry.
Is it confirmed? Is it confirmed that the young boy that came in there with a bag had a gun in the bag?
Yes, the gun was in the bag.
So he did have a pistol on him.
Yes.
But think about that though. He got shot in the back. If he turned to point the gun, then he had to turn again to be shot in the back. That logically makes no sense.
It don't. And I'm just trying to figure out where the defense messed up in the case to lose.
Listen, man, it's one of those situations where sometimes what TJ said earlier, when people want to just look at it and be like they're trying to make it fit a particular narrative, sometimes I honestly think that it is what we see. And this is one of those situations. I think it went on for 3 years. So there was a financial backing behind this. For them to be able to even afford to do this. I think they had already sold the store. I asked this, I said it earlier and I'm going to ask it again. Whether the black person is guilty or not, whether they ran, whether they stayed, whether they argued, whether they fought back, whether they're guilty or not, what's the overarching macro message that's being sent to black people, foundational black Americans, as well as to everybody else in the country? Because I think when it comes to a lot of conservative viewpoints, where we look in the weeds and we want to get down to the nitty gritty and the details of, no, it's not about race, it's about this or that. The macro view, I showed 2 clips earlier where people are starting to feel more emboldened about certain things. And I think that may be getting downplayed by the people who never believes any of these situations are related to race.
I don't think it's got anything to do with that. I think it's just, if you look at the pattern between these two, it's clearly the defense. It's something going on with the defense attorney and an argument against the prosecution that's where somebody dropping the ball.
Well, I got a question for you.
We can look at what people. We can look at clips about people
up.
being racist all we want, but I'm talking about losing the case.
Darwin, I'm gonna ask you a straight up question. If the defense was the exact same, and it was Austin Metcalf who ran out that damn store and got gunned down, do you think that would have been the verdict?
I will say this, because of his racial background. Just off of stereotypes. I think the likelihood of him having a stronger defense just based off of socioeconomics.
No, I'm not changing anything. Everything's the same.
I didn't say you changed it. I'm just saying that I think black people's struggle is defense.
I'm setting the parameters so that we.
No, I think it would have been different. I think the white boy would have had a stronger defense because of his race, because of his economics. I fundamentally think that largely across the years, for the most part, I know there's some exceptions, but I think we lose cases at a high rate because of affording a proper defense. I think that's a fundamental issue that plague black people whenever they commit crime, whether they innocent or guilty. is the defense.
Legal representation. Yeah.
Hey,
Okay.
can I get about 12 seconds? Because my boys telling me to come back. About 12 seconds for y'all get time.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I'm gonna tell y'all like this, right? And, respect to all the brothers in the chat, but just me, just being, who I am. If if it's true that the young kid pointing the gun at his son, whatever it is, I'm clapping you. You know what I mean? I don't care if I gotta chase you or not. I will be wrong in this situation, but
Look like he froze up. Um,
I really
T-
clap you. But the second thing.
TJ, you were going in and out. So we're just going to continue. But I again, all I can go off of are the words of the people who chased him out and killed him, and not the words of the kid who was killed. I don't get to hear his side of his story, and I don't have video evidence to know whether they're lying or telling the truth. All I saw and knew was he didn't apparently steal anything, and they chased him out the store. So yeah, there's that. And again, what Dr. Will just said about, we don't know what his frame of mind is, and I'm talking about the last case with Metcat, Austin, and Karmelo. I don't know his frame of mind, and I don't know if he thought that he couldn't get out. This kid's running for his life with two grown men chasing after him. If there was ever a time to think that your life is at risk and you have to defend yourself, this might be that case. Dr. Will, and then Dave.
Dave can go. I think he just wanted to say something. What you said about.
Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, a few things that we need to clarify here. First of all, the prosecution dropped the ball in the Rick Chow case. To me, it's very, very open and shut. And the problem with that also is, and y'all ain't gonna like what I got to say. And that's okay, because I'm very, very pro-black. I employ more black people than most black people I know. But the truth of the matter is this. When you look at the early 1900s in this country, you had people like Jewish folks. You had people like Italian folks. You had people like Irish folks. And because they were not considered white, that didn't happen until like the 50s. They decided to make sure that their communities were safe and protected. And they created a situation where they knew that the resources that they had in their communities were not going to be ample. And so they started doing some things, whether that was bootlegging, whether that was racketeering, whatever the heck it was, they did that. And they were about that life. So you can't just come up in their community and just think that that's going to fly. Also, everybody, whether they liked it or not, paid a fee for protection. That's what you call the protection racket. Later on, we started to call these things organized crime. The only marginalized group in this country that does not have organization with their illegal activities is us. Point number one. Point number two, and this one's really going to hurt some feelings here. How is it that less than 3% of all the employer businesses in America are black? The majority, 90% of all densely populated neighborhoods that have businesses in them are not black owned. Yet and still, we don't demand any recompense for the amount of money that we put into those businesses that they take and go to white neighborhoods. Because if you notice, Mr. Chow, no pun intended, didn't build his business in a white neighborhood because they're not allowed to. So we sit up here and Raheem need a scholarship and Michelle need dance shoes for ballet or whatever the case may be. We don't ever tell them to run them pockets and give back to the community that they take so much funding from. We never put that in place. And then finally, your forever vice president took off her pearls and her chucks and ski-weed her ass down to where the daggone love you long times was. And in 38 days, we had a Stop Asian Hate bill, which also empowered what happened to Rick Chow. I'm afraid. Then, on top of that, where's that George Floyd bill? Oh, that's right. It's just a bill. Yeah, it's only a bill. And it's still sitting on Capitol Hill. And the reason that has happened is because black folks will sing, we will march, we will do all the We Shall Overcoming. We'll call mumbling Ben Crump, Al Sharpton, Jamal Bryant, whomever, America's next top leading black, because we ain't had a leader in God knows how long, worth a damn. to come speak for us, get their money, and then go on about their business. They're a bunch of pro-black so-called ambulance chasers. The only thing that looks good in our community is the church, the dispensary, the liquor store, and whatever fast food they put us with, and then they jab us with $35 insulin instead of helping us be healthier, smarter, and financially more secure. Then we don't look into the fact that we're not able to buy those businesses because they won't sell to us either because of our credit or because they'll find a loophole, but they'll give all of these incentives and grants to illegals and immigrants and, let's face it, Asians. So at the end of the day, until such time as, I don't know, we get ourselves a real black agenda, we're still going to find ourselves in the same exact boat we have always been in. My whole thing is this. He has not only, when I'm saying he, I mean Rick Chow, has not only shot this kid, but he's on record shooting other cats. And you know why he was able to do it? Because he felt real comfortable in our communities. That's why his name is Rick. And we all know his name really ain't Rick. But again, if there is no fear of recompense, you will do whatever you want to do because you got the law and a society that has its head in the sand, if not up its own black ass, when it comes to making things actually happen in our communities. That's why our communities look like crap and they keep coming up in there. And then how many times, finally, I'm gonna lay my plan on this. Have you seen videotaping? Tell me when I'm telling lies. You've seen videotapes of black women getting dragged by their weaves because they didn't pay for it, or they're getting dragged because their nail set wasn't quite right and they held them up. And then they'll sit up here and say, boycott, boycott, boycott. But then there'll be a line long as my locks down the block the very next day. Half of us are organized as a wet dream with absolutely no orgasm. And you wonder why these folks talk to us the way they do? You wonder why they unalive us the way they do with impunity? Because y'all have about the size of the balls of America's Next transgender top model. And that's the problem. And until you start putting the fear of these people in place, it's not going to happen, because any society, whether it is white, Asian, or whatever, only fears two things: the lack of revenue or the loss of blood. And until you're ready to back your words up, you're singing, you're marching, and you're voting with those two actions, or at least the perceived actual reality that those two actions can and will happen if provoked, you're still going to get the treatment you get as a permanent underclass and a joke, because all they do is say, well, look at the rappers, look at how they do this and this, that, while they get rich off of our pain and our lack of resources in our land.
Gabe says, talk, 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 sing and march like he's doing right now. Yeah, I'm in the camp. I agree with you. And I've thought about this for a while. I'm gonna let y'all know right now. And my family and friends, the people who know me personally already know this. If something like this ever happens to me, the last thing I better ever find out in eternity is that y'all was protesting and marching for my ass. You hear me? Holding up street signs and no. If I was unjustifiably taken out of here, I expect the consequence. And I'm not waiting for the government. I'm not waiting for anything. I'm expecting an actual consequence. And I hold that actually true for the people who I see as family. That includes my friends that I see as family. And I actually stand on that. And I don't care who you are and what your authority is, if you kill somebody that I know is supposed to still be here, that I know and is in my life. I stand on that. And I really mean that. And I think that there's too many. They know we only have that mentality with each other, overwhelmingly. So that's why they can post the racist signs on the store or hop online and say, y'all ain't going nowhere. Y'all be back. Go ahead and boycott. We'll miss the $2 for this week. I'm just making it known that when it comes to Malcolm, I've linked with Malcolm way, way more when it came to this particular issue, in that I recognize and know there's a reason why all the gang violence in the Black community, even in the same city, never seems to make it in Chinatown. Never seems to make it in Little Italy.
Don't.
Dave, you're absolutely right, man. I know it's been kind of late and we already at 2.5 hours and we're going to wrap this up. So I want to play this and then I want all y'all to close us out with final words in terms of reflection and how we can move going forward.
Look at us. Look at what we've been doing since the fucking 1960s. We pack up our little cardboard signs, we put on our comfortable walking shoes, and we head down to the designated pre-approved grid of the city. We march in a straight line, right down the corridor the state graciously cleared out for us. We sing songs, we post pictures to prove we were there, and we literally try to peacefully dance the fascism away, and then go to a bar afterwards. And you guys think you did something? You really honestly do. You look at the crowd size, you look at the trending hashtags, and you go home feeling this massive wave of moral superiority. You feel like you stood on the right side of history today, but you did nothing. Nothing changes. Go ahead and try to cancel me for this video. Deep down, everybody knows this shit is true. What is this really doing? Nothing changes if nothing changes. Let's talk about the brutal, unfiltered reality of how this country actually works, because people are too damn scared to say it out loud. 99% of these protests are approved by the government and the police between certain times. Think about the insanity of that for a second. You're literally asking the very entity you are protesting against for permission to be angry. You fill out a form, you pay a permit fee, and they hand you a piece of paper that says, sure, you can scream about our corruption between the hours of 2 p.m. and 5 p.m. on this specific weekend, as long as you stay on the sidewalk and don't block the corporate storefronts. And the police, the ones you think you're challenging, they aren't sweating at all. They are standing there on the perimeter, casually looking at their watches, waiting for 5:01 p.m. so they can clear the streets and go home to dinner. They are not threatened by your dancing. They aren't losing sleep over your chants. They allowed it to happen because they know a permitted orderly march is the ultimate pressure valve for public rage. They let you scream into the void for 3 hours so you don't do something that actually disrupts their bottom line. It's a simulation of resistance. It's theater. It's completely, totally performative. This is not a new glitch in the system. It's the oldest feature in the book.
A simulation of fighting back. Final thoughts, fellas. I think we covered this from multiple angles. Conservative, more liberal, more independent, black, white. Final thoughts. Let's do Dr. Will, then True, then Dave, then Darwin.
So I think in these situations, whenever it's different racial category, different racial demographics involved with Black people, I think responsibility is always placed on Black people to problem solve and do the best decision, have the best decision-making skills in the situation. And whenever there's any flaw in the actions of the Black person, you got the racists and you got the people who want to fight on the side of white supremacy, that they make excuses for whatever happened. So, for example, I'll take the Cyrus Belton situation. I saw Black people saying, hey, man, you know, the kid got shot. He shouldn't have had a gun on him. And I'm like, what? That doesn't make sense. If things were done correctly, Rick Chow is found guilty and Karmelo Anthony is found not guilty, or manslaughter at worst. Manslaughter at best, shall I say. It shouldn't be placed on Black people to problem solve the best, especially when we're talking about 14, 17-year-old. Someone could look at the video and say, hey, why didn't Cyrus Belton just stop, let them pat him down, show, hey, I got nothing on me, check me, and then he could have walked out of the store. People could say that, like, oh, why didn't he know that? He's 14, he's old enough to know that, he's not dumb, there's things like that. People could say that, but then just think of how that sounds. We see the video footage, he grabbed the water bottles, he put them back, said, I have nothing, walked out. They chased him 130 yards, and then they end up shooting him. Whether he had a gun on him or not is irrelevant in the situation, because we don't get to that situation if you don't falsely accuse him of stealing. Fuck around and find out is not murder. Murder is you finding out regardless. So if I tell you don't touch me, don't touch me. So that's what we always have to think of. Everything has a cause and effect. If they didn't falsely accuse him and then chase him, we don't get to the situation. If Austin Metcalf, if he would have went in there and just been a more, how can I say, friendly human and not escalate a situation, again, no one said Karmelo Anthony was in there causing trouble at first. He was trying to steal anything. He's sitting in a tent. So why does that have to be a situation? If you don't put your hands on him, we don't get to the situation. Then I looked up a study that said in PubMed, in Penn Today, 7% of stabbing victims die. And then it was 11 to 60% when it touches the heart. So even from a medical standpoint, an objective standpoint, most victims who get stabbed don't die. So how do they prove the intentions that with one stabbing that he wanted to kill the guy? No, it was one stab wound. That points to self-defense to me after he was touched, not before, but after. So when I look at all of these situations, And our problems are, and I think about it, we always put it on Black people to be perfect. And why is it the Black people that always receive no justice? And why is it us that this consistently happens to? And I could point to cases to. In 1991, Latasha Harlins, we have an almost mirror case of what happened to Cyrus Belton when that Black girl was in LA in that store and got shot over a bottle of orange juice. And she had the money in her hand to pay for the orange juice when she got shot in the back of the head. And that jury found the Lady Doe guilty, and then a judge gave her probation. So then that just points to, you can't get around the systemic racism in that. The jury found her guilty, and the judge said, you know what? I'm gonna let you walk. And then people got to think, if Latasha Harlins was a white girl or an Asian girl, would the judge have made that decision to say, you get probation for killing this 15-year-old girl? This stuff is horrendous, and we're not gonna get anywhere if people just skate by it, if people excuse it because the person wasn't perfect in the situation. And I'll just leave it there.
Go ahead, True.
I appreciate what he said, and I'm definitely not going to attack the man because I don't know him personally. I will attack the sentiment and the spirit behind what you said. I think that the issue, when you take into all accounts, whether it's semantical, right, wrong, or indifferent, there's no response from our community for when there is injustice. We don't take us seriously. The nation don't take us seriously. That's the crux of the problem. Somehow, some way, we have not arrived. And I think you said something, Dr. Will, that we're not responsible. No, we're definitely responsible because we want different outcomes. If we're not going to put into place something that is going to have a consequence for the disrespect to the community, different members, whether the conviction is murder and we felt it should have been manslaughter, there's still no response. There's no organizations. There's no response. People will go about their lives. I think some people even said it tonight. They will go about their lives a week from now, 30 days from now, and this won't even be a thought or a conversation. So the core issue, in my opinion, and always has been, it probably will continue to be until we arrive at this place to understand how this country actually works. You have to be willing to shift things. That's monetarily, that's comfort levels, so on and so forth. You can't operate in a place of comfort and think that just yelling, screaming, and having drama is going to change anything that has occurred from back early century, mid-century, from the 90s up until now. And until our community arrives at this place as a collective and start having real conversations for action, not just conversations, but a strategy, I don't see anything changing. Because one thing that I can say, when we swap the races, the difference between those races is they don't rest until things are made right or just to the degree that they believe. And this means that they will cancel subscriptions, move businesses across seas, so on and so forth. We don't do that kind of stuff. And that's why things won't, in my opinion, change until we start taking ourselves seriously, Black life seriously, the community seriously. And I'll land.
Go ahead, Dave.
Well, all right. Be honest with you, and I'm not going to sit up here and belabor this point. We're not, again, I'm sorry. I've been Black for almost 50 years now. I don't plan on changing that. Luckily for me, I don't suffer from vitiligo, and I also don't suffer from silly Negro. So as a result, I'm going to stay real Black for a real long time. Having said that, I don't want to live in the forest of feelings. I don't live in Caroline. If you were to take this shirt off, you will see that there is no heart, no clover, no moon, no rainbow on my chest. I'm, as a matter of fact, not a Care Bear. I'm a Black man that lives in this America. And if I don't like what's happening in this America, there's a myriad of places I can go. But this is my homeland. My people are from here. I can trace my lineage all the way back to 1670. So for me, that's not an option. Not only that, I live in the birthplace of America. I live in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Now, what I have seen is a bunch of people acting in one breath like they're grown-ass men, like real adult men, masculine presenting men who are acting like they're wafy, teeny, tiny, itty-bitty victims that just can't figure out how to get this situation solved. Well, let me show you from a historical standpoint how we get this solved. The first thing that we do is what Uncle Claude has been trying to tell y'all for the better part of 5 decades. You got to start buying some politicians, but see, you weak ass, simpy ass Negroes won't buy a politician. I do. I like it. It's great. I'll give you an example. Do you guys remember when the thing happened in South Philly and those 2 brothers got arrested at the Starbucks?
Yeah, downtown.
Yeah. So the councilman in that district happened to be a guy named Kenyatta Johnson. And Kenyatta and I have been friends since he was a state rep. And I've supported him when I was on the radio. I supported him off that. I supported him with my personality, with my presence, and also with my finances. So when that happened and I got wind of it, you know what I did? I picked up the phone and called the guy that I've been supporting emotionally, from a broadcast standpoint and financially. And you know what he said to me? Dave, I already knew you was calling. Don't worry, I'm on it. The next day he was on Good Day Philadelphia. The day after that, he made sure the CEO of Starbucks was in here apologizing. That is how you make change. Not singing, I ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. You start writing checks instead of telling everybody how your ancestors died for the right to vote. They also died for the right for you to think for yourself. But we miss that because we're so enamored with rallies where they give us, and don't get me wrong, I like her, but not in a political sense, get rallies with Megan Thee Stallion twerking as opposed to getting something for our vote. Then we got multi-millionaire, talented, 10th paid ass Negroes that have been so far removed from what it means for the day-to-day black people sitting up here telling you you ain't black because these folks are drawing districts that are not going to allow these Democrats that haven't done a damn thing for black people their entire career other than to make money off of their pain, that we losing the right to vote, but we're losing the right to vote, but yet and still they keep telling us it's go vote blue no matter who. And because the hypocrisy is so blatant, they're literally Jedi mind tricking you and you can't figure out why your black ass is out here suffering. You wouldn't have a Trayvon Martin. And by the way, have we ever brought anybody to bear when it came to what happened to Sandra Bland when they set her up and made it look like she was alive when she wasn't? Oh, so you're only outraged when they tell you to be outraged. Y'all don't even remember when Tamir Rice got. Black Lives Matter to everybody as long as Ben Crump is on that podium talking real greasy, or you got paid off my son saying something, or any of these other cats. And I said that the views and expressions of me ain't on nobody else but my black ass. And if you got a problem, sue me, and I'll show you what's been missing in Discovery. What we're not going to do anymore, foundational black Americans ain't going to take it lying down, and we ain't going to take it up the, never mind, that's for Roland Martin. What we are going to do is move forward in a real way. And it does not involve these butter biscuit coons that could not bust a grape in a fruit fight. If you are out of shape, get in shape. If you are broke, fix yourself and get a job. If you have bad credit, go to mycreditscrub.com and go get it fixed. But whatever you do, don't sit around talking about how much of a shame it is when you need to be out here making something happen other than meeting your feet and singing songs. And on that, I'll land.
Go ahead, Don.
Yeah, so the only thing I can say is, and the brother left before I was just going to question him. He said it was irrelevant whether or not the kid had a gun or not. And I just found that. I'm not going to even address him. But if they won that argument in the courtroom, as far as being justified to take the life of that kid, using the fact that, or the claim
that he had a gun,
that the reason why they shot him is because he pulled out a gun and pointed at my son. How is it even possible to intellectually get yourself to say that the kid having a gun was irrelevant? That was his whole argument. That's the only reason why he won, I think.
Yeah.
He had a gun and pointed it at us. So to say that him having a gun was irrelevant, how else would they have justified it? Or would he even got shot? So you can't say that the kid having a gun was irrelevant. It just don't make any sense. That's the only thing I was stuck on. I heard everything everybody else said, and I agree with everybody else said. But that part right there was just a fundamental logical fallacy.
Yeah, man. I appreciate everybody and all your perspectives. And it's not about everybody agreeing. I just wanted to hear everybody's viewpoint. I'm gonna make it very short and sweet. It's what Dr. Claudia Anderson. It's what Dave said. as far as the political side of it. That's one way to handle it. But the other side to handle it, when you can't buy them off, and if you can't afford certain things, I'm gonna say the thing that nobody else said tonight. If politicians aren't scared of being not being able to be reelected or scared for their life, all this is just yapping.
Pretty much.
If judges aren't scared of allowing injustice to occur in their chambers, whether it's for reelection or for something much more serious for their personal safety. If all the people who have the ability to make all these major societal decisions aren't fearful of the community, I'm going to phrase it differently. January 6th, when a whole bunch of people felt something, thought something, they didn't even put nothing on fire. They didn't, but just their presence alone was so terrifying. We had a multi-year investigation. Hundreds of not hundreds, but tons of people got arrested. Hundreds of people got investigated. Millions and millions of dollars probably got spent sorting this stuff out. And all I'm going to suggest is, I'm not saying we need a January 6th, but what I am saying is if they don't think that you're capable of that, then y'all really do need to stop complaining on social media.
Pretty much.
The people who keeps yapping about we need to, I'm gonna be honest with you. Nobody's scared of the boy. I'm gonna say the thing for the boycott people. Nobody's scared of your fucking boycotts.
At all.
Target's still here. Stores are still standing. Place is still going on. What True said was actually right. Y'all don't even own stocks for stocks to drop. Y'all don't own properties for us to go to as alternatives. Businesses for us to go to for alternatives. For the next 5 years from now, 4 years from now to 2030, each of us individually, if you can just focus on your credit, like Dave said, on your savings, on your investments, staying out of trouble, getting your trying to go for getting a record expunged. Do the best you can with not arguing with anybody that looks like you or anybody that don't. Put your head in the sand. First of all, I almost never even see Asian people in public outside at the store. I almost never see certain groups out like that. They are at their establishment, they're at school, or their asses is home. If we really buckle down, we may actually have the leverage to do what Dave and others have suggested. But if you don't have the money and the capital, and you don't have the wherewithal to recognize, I'll make it plain. If a law enforcement official unlawfully guns me down, I'll make it better. If a law enforcement official unlawfully guns down one of my family members, and I see the evidence and I see the videos and it was unwarranted, if he does not go into jail, it is my duty to do something about it.
That part.
As plain as possible for YouTube standards. Does everybody understand what that means?
100%.
If it involves my family, if it involves my friends, and it involves the people that I believe that would do the same for me, if the justice system won't serve justice, I will. If we don't think like that, then y'all all wasting everybody's time.
That movie, The Punisher, right?
Yeah, I'm not. And if it happened to Darwin's sons, he'd be in the same mode. There's too many dudes that only have that mentality when it comes to people that look like us on the screen. So I'm going to say it right now. All y'all gangsters, and Charleston White said it yourself. Y'all got all the smoke for us, but not for the actual other threats.
That's it.
If we put this, now again, we got all these young black boys and men out here just standing on the street, wasting their lives, being a threat to society. As a neighborhood, yeah, you know what? We might not be the richest. We might not have as much wealth as we would like. But as a neighborhood, we have an HOA in my community. All right.
Mhm.
So there's a whole bunch of stuff that just ain't gonna fly.
That
Y'all
part.
can start your own HOAs. Y'all can start your own neighborhood watch. Y'all can even set up a financial pot and take those same men and boys and pay them to do and run certain things on the block on a weekly basis. Clean it up, walk it down, walk and monitor, and be mindful. And what's the protocol for how they can move to make sure nobody's on the block that's not supposed to be? They're right there right now, and we ignore them when there's an opportunity. What do you think the Black Panthers were doing with these men? What do you think the Nation of Islam would have done with these men?
Mm-hmm.
Because we ignore them, this is how stuff also happens, where we have young boys walking around with guns. So all I'm suggesting is, if you don't have the mentality to get your stuff in order over the next 4 years, and if you don't have the mentality to work with the system from the financial standpoint to get actual results, shut the hell up and just continue doing y'all fake protesting, performative protesting per usual. You will be having the same conversation you had in 2020, 2016, 2018 with Occupy Wall Street, and the cycle's going to continue. Protests don't work. Voting is effectively irrelevant outside of the fact of the politician that's in a position of power is going to do the bidding of the people that gave them money. The end. All right. So everybody that watched this, we hope that y'all enjoyed it. We hope that we covered our bases with looking at this from multiple angles. If you have not done so, please make sure that you subscribe to everybody that you see on the screen and follow us on our respective pages on Instagram, Facebook, and or YouTube and other respective platforms. Thank you for supporting the Men's Table. We hope that we did justice with this particular conversation. And if you have any particular ideas or suggestions, feel free to always hit the super chat in future episodes so that we can kind of jot them down. But thank you, everybody. And feel free to make sure that you guys become members of our channels. And last but not least, make sure you share this with at least 1, 2, 3, 4, or even 5 people. Everybody have a good night, and we will see y'all on the other side. Peace.